Unobstructed Views. Season 2 is officially back as we give you an alternate way to enjoy the Pittsburgh Penguins game tonight against the St. Louis Blues. I'm Hannah Mears, alongside, once again, privileged to have Stanley Cup champion Max Talbot in the building with us. Max, you were so great last year, just sharing so many fun stories, giving us really cool access into the mind of a Stanley Cup champion, but you've also had such close relationships with a ton of the players that are still on the team. You have such interesting insight. It's great to have you back.
I'm so excited to be back for season 2. We made it.
We made it.
We were so good last year. Yes.
It's great.
We had so much fun last year. And, you know, I feel we had fun even sometimes when the games were more difficult. But this year, the Penguins are like going on. They're having a great start this season. So it's super exciting. There's tons of stuff to talk about tonight. Like, you know, we're going to start talking about the team, the big three. You know, it's the 20th season together, so that's super exciting. And obviously all the young guys part of the team, and it's pretty exciting for the start of the season.
We have so much to get to tonight, as Max was alluding to, but first and foremost, something that is happening all season long and something that is beyond worthy to celebrate is the big three. Evgeni Malkin, Sidney Crosby, Kris Letang. They've been a core, a foundation for the Pittsburgh Penguins for 2 decades. First and foremost, I mean, when you think about it, the longest tenured trio in all of North American sports is crazy to think about, Max. These three have had so much success together. They brought 3 Stanley Cups to the city of Pittsburgh, and they are all still performing at a very, very high level. I mean, when you see this just instantly, I know we're going to talk so much about these three exclusively tonight, but what comes to mind when you see this?
I'm old, you know, and it's crazy because I'm only 2 years older than them, and I did some Pilates last week and I was sore everywhere. So if you look at these 3 guys, like playing at such a high level since the beginning of their career, and that are still doing it without too many injuries, and Malkin is flying the start of the year. Sid is still like the top scorer of the team, and Letang has been finding his legs like this season again. So to me, it's amazing having a chance to watch these guys again. And I've said this before, and for Penguins fan to have the opportunity to look at these 3 guys night in, night out, performing at this level is pretty amazing. And go to the rink, cheer them on, because it's an exciting start of the season. And the privilege to see these 3 guys night after night is, to me, pretty special.
It's not something any of us take for granted from Pittsburgh. I've been blessed to be able to watch that. That's how I've known Penguins hockey. And that is a privilege in itself when it comes to the sports world and how hard it is to do and accomplish the things that they have. And of course, if you have any questions or comments you want to make about the big three or for us all night, please head over to X and use hashtag SNPViews. We are here all night to answer your questions and would love to hear your thoughts as well on your stories watching the big three. But Max, as you said, the big three has been a core of this team. They've been here, we're familiar with them, but there's a ton of unfamiliar faces this year, a new look, if you will, to this Pittsburgh Penguins team, starting with head coach Dan Mears.
Yep.
You had the opportunity this morning to head over to morning skate. What was your first impression?
What a guy, what a guy. And I was talking to Colby Armstrong. I had a chance to attend to the press conference, and after Colby Armstrong always talked 3-4 minutes with the head coach, and I wanted to introduce myself and talk to him. And very mature guy. He's only 2 years older than me at 43 years old. He's 5 years older than his oldest players. So very mature. He's got a lot of experiences. I think he's exactly what the Penguins needed this year. You know, it's kind of a turnaround from Mike Sullivan that's been there for a while. Now I feel this team is like turning around, right? Going with a little bit more youth. And to me, it's the perfect coach. He was at an NTDP program with the United States, and he's been an amazing coach there. So I think he's Muir, and for a team to have a coach like this at the right time, it shows. It shows right now in the standings, the way they're performing, and I feel like they're playing looser this year, right? And that comes from the culture, from the new beginnings, and it gives a little bit of air to every player. So it's I was very impressed by his calmness this morning.
He's also going to be tested for sure with some injuries as well, which we're going to get to. We're also going to talk about the teenagers that are becoming stars here quickly in Pittsburgh. Coming up next.
In Inside Penguins Hockey is back.
Let's go eat sushi.
For an all-new season.
And now he's your best friend.
Yeah. Getting a line in the water is always a joy for me.
Inside Penguins Hockey. New episodes every month on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by UPMC Health Plan. The road to puck drop begins on Penguins Tonight. A first look at the latest game news, stories from around the league, and so much more. Penguins Tonight, 1 hour before every game on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by Morgan & Morgan.
To Unobstructed Views, just getting you ready for tonight for the Pittsburgh Penguins and St. Louis Blues. Important to note that Rickard Rakell did have hand surgery, so not sure when we're going to be able to get him back. That definitely hurts that first line. And Ville Koivunen, he was recalled from Wilkes-Barre, and he was on fire before he was recalled, Max. So actually, unfortunate for Rakell, but this is a great shot for a guy like Koivunen to prove himself.
Yeah, Koivunen, Kindle also. There's a bunch of guys that can actually take that place on the power play, gives them opportunity. Hallander tonight is going to start with Sidney Crosby. Had a chance to talk to him this morning at Mears. He was a little nervous, asking questions. I told him about Pascal Dupuis that had great experience with Sidney Crosby tonight. Don't change the way you play. You know, like you got to bring what you do every night. So don't change because you're playing with Crosby and Brunik and Brunicki? Brunicki, right? Brunik. Ah, you see? I told you I was going to mess his name up. I'm sorry. It's tough for me as a French guy. But Brunicki back in the lineup too with Kindle. So that's exciting. All the young guys, it's pretty exciting to see them there.
The two teenagers, Ben Kindle and Brunik, of course. But I really want to ask you something just because you said this, and I think that's really interesting. It's something we talked about last year when guys talked about playing with Sidney Crosby. We had guests on this show who also had talked about it and how it could be kind of intimidating at times as the puck is about to drop here. Just dropped here in PPG Paints Arena. So hockey, we've got some Pittsburgh Penguins hockey going on. We're excited to bring you an alternate view of that. But Max, interesting that Hallander said something like that. Was that this specific question? Was how do I play with a guy like Sid? Or maybe he's just nervous to sort of be more of a staple here. Which one? Yeah,
well, it's always nerve-wracking. You know, I had a chance to play with Evgeni Malkin during the playoffs, and it's always different. And you don't want to change who you are, right? You want to keep it simple, but for a young guy back from Sweden last year, you know, hey, here we go. Max. Yes, sir. Well, you start with a +1. Right. You know, that's huge. It's huge for the confidence. Rost has been, you know, he hasn't scored since the beginning of this season before last Saturday, and now it's 2 goals in 2 games, and that's exactly what he needed, right? Get the confidence, the monkey off his back, and what a start to a game. And that's what we wished for tonight, right? Yes, we wished for a hot start, a lot of goals, but also when you're talking, it's so ironic you're talking about a guy like Hallander, and to have that happen right away has to just ease the pressure of that moment, right? You know, imagine starting -1 and being in your zone for about 30 seconds. It's not the same start of a game. It's not good for your confidence. So for him to be on the ice, I don't know if he has an assist or what. I didn't see the play develop, but you know, it's so good for him. And you know what sucks when it starts like that is for the fans that are not sitting in their seats right now. You know, they come get late to the game. Gino, what? Back to back. Let's go Penguins. This is so exciting. What a pass by the best playmaker in the NHL right now since the beginning of the season, Evgeni Malkin. Look at this, and that is the easiest goal of Anthony Mantha since the beginning of his career. But what a play there, and good for Mantha. Look, big guys in front of the net, you know, just open up his stick, and Malkin is feeling it, right? This is, like, I wish that was me. I would have scored that, you know? I would have scored that goal for sure. I think you would have scored that goal,
Max.
Hannah. Yeah. Oh,
in my soccer days, those are very similar plays we'd set up. And if you were in the right position there and if you missed, you were in a lot of trouble. Those were the cupcakes, the ones you wanted. But listen, a guy like Evgeni Malkin makes stuff like that look easy, right? He creates those plays. He makes them happen. You mentioned something, though. You said the word big. We didn't even get to talk about that second line yet. That second line, their identity this year has been big. And not just because they're making a big impact, their size, Max. Talk about the additions and just how big and physical that second line is.
You look super excited about that line. I love it.
I am.
You know?
We needed that.
And I think everybody is. And once you find chemistry for a line like this, you know, and it's very rare that you'll have three guys that size, you know, 6'5", 6'5", 6'6", or 7 even, Brazo. Like, when you can find a chemistry right off camp and start a season like that, it feels like everything is going right for them. And this is the best feeling in the world for a line. You know that it's going to come. And even for a team like the Penguins right now, you know, starting a game like that, you know, last game they lost in overtime, in shootout, sorry, but they came back in a game. And I feel like there's that type of, you know, Cinderella magic around them right now. And it's so positive, you know. But these three big guys, it's so tough for a defending team, you know. You know you're going to have to be hard if you play against these guys. You know, you're like, oh no, the defender's got to stop you. The forward, it's a big sentiment. They're not three physical guys, but just by them being so big and in so much space makes it hard on the other team.
17 seconds between those goals for the Penguins. And hey, Unobstructed Views fans, if you're looking at our screen right now, you're going to see something interesting. Something awesome that our crew behind the scenes has made possible this year is going to ISO one of the members of the Big Three when they're on the ice. Right now, of course, it's the captain, Sidney Crosby. You're going to have a really cool view of everything he's doing. And Max, you have to take us through just how interesting it is and what people should be looking for. Just, it's so cool to be able to highlight him the entire time. A talent like this and just the vision on the ice and everything he has.
Well, it's cool because I was paying attention to the box right there, and it's super cool because if you look at Sidney Crosby, there is so much small details in his game that when you see him on a big screen, you don't really realize how his stick is positioned, the way he skates, the way he stops and starts. He's not a guy that curls a lot, you know. I always say that Sidney Crosby is like the best grinder in the world. In a way, he's not a grinder, but, you know, I don't want to take anything away from him. But he plays a simple game. He plays a game that he goes to the net. He goes in front of the net. He takes some shots, you know. He's going to tip some pucks. And it's like the perfect player to do that, you know. He's strong. He's a very strong guy, but he's so smart and so skilled. So when you bring a grinding game to a skilled guy, it makes him like a superpower, right? So for us to be able to watch him tonight and pay attention to the way that he moves his feet, where he goes onto the ice, you know, there's some certain spots that Wayne Gretzky was, you know, using the back of the net. They used to call it his office. Sidney Crosby is more in front of the net to the left of the net, and that's called the playmaking area, right? Because he's on his forehand and he can tip some pucks from there, but he's always there, especially in the power play. So take a look at him tonight, and now we can see Evgeni Malkin there too. So
what's going to be the difference when you're watching a guy like Sid as opposed to Gino?
That's a good question. I actually sometimes do a TED Talk, you know, to some companies, and I use Sid and Gino, in one of my slides, because I always talk about talent and skill, which is definitely two different things, right? You have in life. So Evgeni Malkin is the talented guy, and Sidney Crosby is the skilled guys. So if you look at, you know, you can actually Gino the machine, you know, and his career is just amazing, right, Anna?
Yeah, and everything that he's been able to do. We highlighted him a lot last year for the milestones he had. He recently look at that, 1,361 points, 27th in the NHL all-time. I mean, come on. When you think about the milestones the Big Three have.
It's interesting for the fans, you know, it's a storyline, and it's going to keep going until these guys retire or get traded or whatever, what's going to happen. But just to finish on my TED Talk, you know, I can actually give it to you. It's so inspirational. No, I'm joking.
Please inspire us.
You know, so Sid is the skill and Gino is the talent. Gino goes back to Russia in the summer. He can, you know, sometimes not skate too much, but he's going to come back and it's going to be natural for him. You know, he's more talented. He's born into it. Sidney Crosby on the other end is more the skill. The skill is something you work at every day. It's something that takes effort. And when you want to get better at face-off, you do 1,000 reps of one thing, you know, and that's Sidney Crosby. Oh, St. Louis just tied it up. Did he just remove his glove? Yeah. So I didn't see the play developed again, but
Ukestad.
take a look at that. Yeah, from in front of net. I think it was a shot from the corner or something like that. Let me see. Oh yeah, nice pass. Nice pass. I think Jerry would have liked to see that one back, but at the same time, it's tough. It's a guy backdoor. You know, I think he's deep in his net. Obviously, he's got to respect the shot, but and I think even Bustad missed a shot. You know, so that's always tough for a goalie. When you miss a shot, you don't know. It was the story of my career, right? If you don't know where you shoot, the goalie doesn't know where you shoot. So it's hard for them. So that's how I scored my goals. You know?
Just on accident, right?
Yeah,
they just happened to be there. Nick Bustad spent some time with the Penguins as well. Fun fact, when I was an intern with the Penguins, I made his birthday post.
Really?
So I think his name will just be ingrained in my head forever. But yeah, so a former Penguin getting a goal there on Jari, but it brings up an interesting something interesting here. We see the big three ISO cam again with Sid, but something we haven't talked necessarily about yet is the goaltending. And Jari and Shilovs have been splitting time this year. Started off the season sort of thinking they were going to be maybe in more of a battle for that spot. But would you be opposed with how successful each has been this season to maybe seeing that rotation stick?
We'll see. I think it's going to evaluate at one point in the season. Now they're very fortunate. If you look at the stats of both goalies too, they each have 3 wins. They have about the same average, about the same percentage of efficacy. If that's a word, yeah, that's a word. That's an English word.
We'll go for it.
Okay, thank you. 1 shootout each. Shutout each, so they're playing pretty solid. I think Shilov had more action against him, more shots against, but still, like, they're both doing well. And I love the acquisition of Shilov. You know, I think it kind of gives time to the goalie in the minors to actually develop himself because he's having an amazing season. I don't think he lost this year. I think he might be the next one in line to be the number 1 in Pittsburgh for a lot of years. But Shilov was a great acquisition. You know, he had great experience in Vancouver 2 years ago, and then last year he won the Calder Cup. So he's a good goalie, and he's having an amazing start of the season.
It's been nice to see, too, that even though they scored there, something that we talked about with Tristan Jari last year, something that plagued him a little bit was giving up that first goal quick.
Yes.
So how nice is it to know that the Penguins did start off hot, so that maybe doesn't plague him a little bit in this one?
Yeah, that goal came on their St. Louis third shot, so it's better than last year on the first shot. He was ready to go.
Yeah, he was ready.
But it's huge to give the goalie a breather. You know, it's always... Coming back hockey is tough, you know, especially on back-to-backs, which, you know, tomorrow night the Penguins are in Philly, I think. So, you know, when you try to come back from behind, it's always tougher than starting a game like that. But the problem, though, not the problem, but the danger of this is exactly you don't want to lay off the gas pedal.
Right.
You know, it's like, you start well, you think it might be a easy game, but you still have to, you can't change the way you play because you're up 2-0, you know, and then next thing you know, you play on the heels and you don't want to see that. But I think the Penguins are experienced enough to not get caught in that ce piège in French. This, how do you say that in English? But not get caught in that.
Not get caught in just kind of coasting a little bit. You don't want to coast.
Exactly.
You want to keep your foot on the pedal. A guy like Gino, we've been ISOing here for a minute. Max, we're going to get into a lot of what makes these guys special on the ice, what has made them special for so long on the ice as well. But Gino as a person, briefly, how could you describe him as just the player on the big three? If you had to give them all a personality, let's focus. What's Gino's personality to you?
Gino's a clown, and I love it, and it's all positive, right? He was my first, I was his first roommate in the NHL when we started in the league, when he got back from Magnitogorsk, and he didn't speak a word English, and it was hard for him. he got very, very lucky that he had Sergei Gonchar with him on his side in the team. Like Sid had Mario Lemieux, stayed at his house for a couple years. Well, Malkin had Gonchar, and that was great for his development in general.
We're going to get to hear more from Max here shortly about how Evgeni Malkin got to be a Pittsburgh Penguin and gets to make history. All of that and more coming up next on Unobstructed Views.
No one gets you ready for puck drop like Penguins Face Off Live. Pre-game insights, analysis, and a word straight from the coach. Penguins Face Off Live before every game on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Here, we don't just watch the Penguins. We live every tipped puck.
Unbelievable.
Every battle.
Give me more of this.
Every new prospect.
This is a glimpse of the future.
Everything you love about the Pens, we do too.
I'm down here between the benches.
You know what that means, Pens fans?
Cheers for that.
At the front, did they score?
We manifested it.
Stream the Penguins all season long on SNP 360.
Welcome back to Unobstructed Views. The Pens lead 2-1 after scoring 2 goals in 17 seconds. And part of this, Evgeni Malkin. We've talked about the big three. He's been such a big part of it. Max, right before we went to break, you had talked about, in a good way, him being sort of a clown, you know, but he had help from Gonchar here and just to help identify himself as a part of that big three. But I don't think what a lot of viewers know back home is that Gino had to really make this possible for himself. His NHL dream took a little bit of adversity to get here, and I think it's so interesting how this happened. So please enlighten everybody. What went on back in 2006 before Gino made his debut?
Well, that's the story of the great escape, right? So he got drafted in 2004 right behind Alexander Ovechkin. He was second overall. You know, he was playing Magnitogorsk in Russia in his hometown, and he was under contract there, but he wanted to come to the NHL, and obviously he was ready to do it. And the Penguins were ready to receive him. But his Russian team, Magnitogorsk, didn't want to let him go. So they had a training camp in Finland, which it happens quite often in the KHL, where before the season started, you go to Finland to start a workout and have some ice down there. So his team was there. And during that moment, he left at one point his hotel to go meet his agent, Pat Brisson and JP Barry, at the airport in Finland, so he could escape back to the States. Because if he would have been in Russia, he could have not got his visa, and the team was really serious about keeping him there because he was under contract. So this whole story came under an investigation, and labor law and everything, and you know, the Penguins won that battle. So he had such a good start of his career too. You know, he was definitely mature to play in the NHL, and we were very lucky that he was very well represented with JP Barry and Pat Brisson, and the rest is history. He's been in Pittsburgh for 20 years after that great escape from Russia.
Penguins going to be a man down here for a little bit as the Blues get a power play, but I think it's so interesting to hear that side of hockey and being so young and that type of adversity and having to make that happen. I mean, he had challenge after challenge, and to come, like you said, the hot start he did have to start his career, and then the rest is sort of history. But does he ever talk about that with you guys, or does he sort of just, you know, let's leave that in the past, I'm here now, this is how you go on? You have to think that, you know, that defines who somebody was.
Yeah, but it took him a couple years to actually be comfortable enough in English to be able to speak about that story and stuff like that. And to put people in perspective, like Magnitogorsk, to have been played in Russia for 3 years, you know, it's a small, hard-working town, and it's not big, right? And when I played there in Russia, it was so funny because I get to the KHL 2016, I don't know anybody, so we go and play in Magnitogorsk and you realize, okay, this is a very small city. And I go on a warm-up and I'm there and you know, you're in the rink is dark. It's a very good organization. Rink is dark. And I go in there, and during the warm-up, I hear, Max, Max, Max. I'm like, what is this, you know? Who's calling my name? And I look up, and it's Mr. Malkin and Mrs. Malkin. Wow. That was in Pittsburgh for so long, right? During the playoff runs, I don't know if people remember, but they would show them in the stands, like always hugging each other and giving each other kisses when Gino was, had the post there. But so Mr. and Mrs. Malkin, they came to see me during my warm-up in Magnitogorsk, and I was so happy to see them, right? Because I would go see them after games and give them hugs and kisses, and they were kind of celebrities like back in Pittsburgh during that time. So yeah, it's pretty crazy for a guy to be that good at come from Magnitogorsk and having that kind of career. So all props to Evgeni Malkin to have been able to. Ooh, another post. Mm-hmm. That's 2 posts on the same power play. And I was talking to Dan Mears this morning about the special teams. We know that the Penguins are on top of the league for the power play, but he was talking about the PK too. That's been playing better recently in their structure. Is that a breakaway? Here we go. Oh, post again. Wow.
At least it's not favoring one side tonight.
Yeah, exactly. It's good. The posts are solid tonight. The nets are big. I don't know. Marc-Andre Fleury would give a little love to his post after these 3 posts there. But so we can look on the ISO there, Sidney Crosby. You know, and the role of a centerman. It's he's always at the right place on the ice. You know, anticipates the ice so well, and it's fun to watch him play like that. You know, from up close.
I'm curious, Max, part of this we saw briefly too in the ISO during the PK was a guy like Kris Letang. That's the 3rd member of that big 3 we have yet to really talk about tonight, but don't worry, we have tons of time to talk about him. But I know you have such a good relationship with him. Obviously, you've played with him, super good friends, but what's been exciting just to see what he's done this year specifically early on? Just needs to have a big year, right? One of the guys out there, obviously good on the PK, we see that, but what has impressed you about him early on?
Well, I got a question for you, Anna, that I'm thinking about, and I don't know the answer yet, but if we were to do a little bet right now, I'm trying to think who's going to have the longest career between these 3. Because when you talk to me about, you know, Christopher Letang, and all I see in my head is this guy working so hard in the summer. Yeah. You know, he's a machine, he's a natural athlete. He skates so well for his age. It was always his biggest quality was, you know, like his skating ability, and he works so hard. So I think it's between Sid and Letang. But let's look at the post
These
there.
These pesky posts here, that was close.
Yeah. This is the best feeling for a goalie too.
Right.
Ooh.
That one maybe just nicked it at the top, but right over, if anything.
And Novak.
This one right at the top,
what a good shot. And he had him beat like clear. Even if the puck was a little lower, it would have went in. But that's an honorable feeling for a player.
Take a break. We'll take a break anytime something like that happens. You need to catch a break every once in a while. Everyone gets lucky, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I think the start of the game, that was a break a little bit for the Penguins.
But I think it's interesting you bring that up because I would love to hear that. Fans, go to X, hashtag SNP Views. Let us know who you would take. Who do you think is going to have the longest career in the NHL? Sidney Crosby, Evgeni Malkin, or Kris Letang? Now, a lot of people will probably say Sid, too, just because I feel like they know his dedication to the game. He never seems like he's slowing down. It's milestone after milestone. But again, Kris Letang is somebody who in the summer, his workouts are absolutely insane. And throughout the show, stay tuned with us. We do have actual footage of the insane workouts he does that, you know, nobody sees. These guys aren't super active on promoting themselves on social media. They could easily put all of that out there and they don't. So physically, maybe Kris Letang is the one.
Yeah. Well, I certainly would put all my workouts online, you know, just to brag about them. But I think we have some footage of Kris Letang actually working out that we'll show a little later in the show.
Have you ever were you ever tempted in getting in on one of those workouts?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I used to do, too. When you look at the combination of what he's doing, it's new age, certainly. You know, it's a lot of functional movement. But Kris, there's different ways to work out in the summer. Not everybody. So you go back in the summer, the team will give you a training program that you can use. But most guys now, they're so professional, right? They will go back home and they will hire their own strength coach. And Kris has been working out with Chamberlain back home. It's a guy that they push a lot. They push a lot. Some guys rather do a lot of cardio. Some guys will do more functional movement. You got to go to what works for you. And Kris, I know he likes to be strong, and he works so hard in summer.
We can't wait to see more of that when we come back on Unobstructed Views. Stay with us.
Inside Penguins Hockey is back
Let's go eat sushi.
for an all-new season.
And now he's your best friend.
Yeah. Getting a line in the water is always a joy for me.
Inside Penguins Hockey, new episodes every month on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by UPMC Health Plan. The road to puck drop begins on Penguins Tonight. A first look at the latest game news, stories from around the league, and so much more. Penguins Tonight, 1 hour before every game on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by Morgan & Morgan.
Welcome back. Just in case you need a new workout routine, maybe a little motivation to get off the couch and get in the gym, take a look at what Kris Letang does when Max Talbot was just talking about, hey, who's going to have the longer NHL career, Letang, Malkin, or Crosby? Ooh. I mean, here's just a taste of what Letang is putting himself through physically to be in the NHL a long time. And Max, he is somebody who's also had his own struggles with his health. So to know that he is so serious about this, and I know everybody is going to use that commercial and just keep it on repeat in their house as motivation, right? The luscious locks, how he looks, he's drinking some, he's getting himself ready, but you have to be inspired when you watch something like that.
That slow-mo video was for the ladies watching the show tonight. It's
Max was producing. Can anybody tell?
Yes.
We didn't. No, he would have stuck videos in there of himself. So.
Okay. Next question on X: who's the best-looking hockey player in the NHL? I think Kris Letang is going to get a lot of votes. So, yeah, good for him. But yes, this is what he does in the summer. And, I think that's an old video in some way. I think that's like going back 10 years ago at least, because his hat is from a store that's done 10 years ago. But while we see Raquel's injury last game, Saturday night, he got his broken hand on that shot. So blocking a shot hurts, guys. It takes a lot of courage. The puck is frozen, for those who don't know, so that makes it even more painful when you get a shot like that. But very unfortunate block shot and injury for Raquel on the, on an Olympic year too. It's good that he's getting hurt early in the season, so it doesn't sacrifice his chance, because we all know how important it is for the players to play for these Olympics, right? To represent your country. So he's going to be back. He's a strong guy, but hopefully, like we said, he gives an opportunity to another player to jump on his line.
Max, I think it's interesting too. I feel like a lot of things you don't see on social media. We see a ton of football players in the NFL love to post their training videos and what they do in the offseason. You see so much of it, you kind of know what they're up to.
Yep.
Baseball players, similarly. There's, they're going through the motions. They have programs they're going through. You see a lot of that. But hockey, I feel like we don't see a ton of what goes on in the offseason. A, why is that? And B, take us through what you went through in the offseason to stay in shape. What was your typical program like? Did it look like something Letang was doing?
Yeah, it did. And I miss it every day. That's one thing I miss too. It's the routine of working out. And I was talking to David Savard. He played for the Habs, won a Stanley Cup with the Tampa Bay Lightning a couple years ago, and he just retired. And he was talking to me about his training regimen. And for guys to do this during a day in the summer, people might assume that hockey players, they play golf all summer and they relax. And but these guys work out so hard that you need to nap in the afternoon, because it works on all your nervous system. And it's very demanding. So these guys work hard. Like I said, it's not every player that do the same thing, that does the same thing, same type of training regimen. But to me, that was what worked, like I needed to eat so much during the summer because I wanted to gain 10, 15 pounds every summer. So I would go to the gym and lift some weight and eat some food. And it was tough for me to put some weight on. So some guys do the opposite. They have to do a lot of cardio for them to get in shape. For me, it was I need to get muscles and bulky to be strong on the ice because I had a cardio naturally. So Kris Letang is a guy that needs to be strong too. He needs to stay in shape.
Next time, I feel like we need to bring everybody. Max is going to come to my Pilates class before this, and we're going to bring everybody an inside look onto how that goes and how much stronger I am than him now at this point in his career. But, really close there. Another nice shot on net. Nice to see a guy, different guys here get opportunities for the Penguins, as you mentioned, with Raquel being down. A guy like Koivunen coming up, but two guys specifically that's been really exciting for the Pittsburgh Penguins this year is Harrison Brunick and Ben Kindle. Two teenagers in the lineup for the Penguins for the first time since 2006. I mean, how cool was it to just see maybe a new look of something we see on the ice?
Well, it's great. We just saw Brunick on the bench with his iPad. I think he was watching Harry Potter too. But it's fun to see that, and it's great. And we see it's part of I think Dan Mears and the team's got a development plan, which we'll talk right after the break, right?
More coming for you guys on Unobstructed Views on this new look Pens team.
No one gets you ready for puck drop like Penguins Face Off Live. Pre-game insights, analysis, and a word straight from the coach. Penguins Face Off Live before every game on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Here, we don't just watch the Penguins. We live every tipped puck.
Unbelievable.
Every battle.
Give me more of this.
Every new prospect.
This is a glimpse of the future.
Everything you love about the Pens, we do too.
I'm down here between the benches.
You know what that means, Pens fans?
Cheers for that.
The front, did they score?
We manifested it.
Stream the Penguins all season long on SNP 360.
Welcome back to Unobstructed Views. There's a look at Ben Kindle at just 18 years old. For the Pittsburgh Penguins, he made his NHL debut in Game 1 this season, Max. Something that just a couple of things I've been hearing about him, and obviously we've watched. He's been exciting. Jay Caulfield had said on our pregame show not too long ago, there is a difference of when it almost feels like when he's in the game versus when he hasn't been for the Penguins. So have you seen that? Have you felt that? And when it comes to will we see him all season, he and Brunick alike? What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I had a chance to have a conversation with both of them this morning at morning skate, and I told Ben Kindle to stay away from Southside. Yeah. So that was my first advice to him, and he didn't even know what Southside was. So this is a good start. He's a mature kid, way more than I was when I started the NHL. But yeah, these two kids have been very special this year. You know, it's rare that you have two teenagers in an NHL team, and we'll see where the team takes it, you know, because they have 10 games for the team to make a decision. It's after 10 games they have the decision. Do we send them back to junior or we keep them in the NHL? And, you know, they're at 8 games tonight. They missed the last 2 games because they have a development plan for them. They don't want to, oh, yeah, that was a good goal. That was a drive the net, guys. That's where the action's going, and we saw Kiru really put on the Jets there at the blue line. Went back door, and this is very tough for a goalie to respect that. Yeah, Carlson, that was a tough play at the line. But after that, you know, you have to come back, and Kiru really went solid at the net. And it's tough to jury. It's a 2-on-1, and, you know, as a defenseman, you have to take the pass. You know, the guys on the outside, and so stick on puck and really take the pass. Don't allow the pass backdoor. But that was a tap in for Kiro. Great pass from Braden Chen that I played with for the Flyers. Sorry to say that name on the air tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. We chose a Flyer. We don't play for them.
Right.
So we'll see where the team, to come back to these two teenagers. You know, I think from what I'm hearing that they're really considering keeping them on the team for the development, and that's only about development. You know, if they're getting sent down to the minor team, it's not because they don't deserve to be in NHL. It's really, how do you see them develop themselves the best? You know, is it better for them to go play 25 minutes in their junior team and dominate the league, or is it and play for the World Juniors, or is it better for them to stay in the NHL and take some reps and play with the best player in the world? It always depends on the maturity of the players. It's not the same situation for all teenagers. But I think, like Jay Caulfield said, for a guy like Sidney Crosby and all the older guys, it's nice to see some new blood, some young legs, and guys that really like to go after it. So it's been a very good storyline for the Penguins this year.
What a privilege for their development to, as you said, to have an example of guys like the big three on the ice. I mean, no better example as to how to play the game long, how to play it at a very high level for a long time, and the things to do on and off the ice. We were just ISOing Sid, now we're ISOing Gino. When it comes to that, how important of a puzzle piece do you think that is in their development plan of, like you said, if they're not getting better, but those are guys that they could follow?
Yeah, it's the best school in hockey. You know, you get to see Sidney Crosby every day on the ice, off the ice, the way he conducts himself off the ice, but the way that he works on the ice, the details that he puts into the game. Nice save from Jared. Ooh, ooh. Oof. Oh, I got scared there. I was looking at the puck like
Jared loose somehow.
Jared was, yeah. But yeah, it's such a privilege, you know. Just talking about my career, my own experience, having to take face-offs after practice with Sidney Crosby, having to shoot the puck around and try to learn the way that he flexes his stick and where he looks when he shoots and what he sees on the ice and when he speaks in the locker room, like the leadership that he teaches these guys. There's no junior team that will give you that. You know, there are going to be these guys in their junior team. They're going to be their Sidney Crosby because they have the NHL experience. It would be amazing for a junior team to get these guys back. But at the same time, you have to think about your assets and how they're going to develop themselves. And I think that's what the Penguins are doing. They're taking times. And even in the developmental plan that they have, that they missed the last 2 games and everything, it just get the time in Pittsburgh longer for them. You know, they're kind of waiting for them to push the 10 game back to see how they're going to react. How they're going to react tonight after being off the lineup for 2 games. Are they losing a beat, or they're working hard with the skill coach on the ice during practices? So it's all positive, you know, and I trust in Kyle Dubas to take the right decisions when the 10 games are going to come to an end.
It's exciting, but it also sets a culture, right? When you're talking about they're going to go be the Sidney Crosby if they're not here in the NHL to their junior teams. And if you don't know anything different, maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because this culture has been so set for so long with that big three, right? What was that like when you were playing with those guys? I know they were a lot younger back then, but what was the culture? Do you think there's always been sort of a standard because of that? Because of
mainly Sid, you know, on the culture thing, you know, Gino was lucky to be with Sid too. You know, we talked about Sergei Gonchar, what he was for Evgeni Malkin, but at the same time, you know, what Sid was for Evgeni Malkin. Because if you take Evgeni Malkin, he would have been probably the top guy in any team. You know, he would have been the guy. But for Malkin and Sid to be able to lean on each other when one was hurt, the other one was taken, you know, that's what success. That's how their success came about, and about the team's success too. But Sid, I always remember, he was 18 years old in Pittsburgh his first season, and he already had such a presence. And I remember him talking with Mark Recchi, you know, and the first season it was more old school hockey. We still had Mario playing. Oh, nice shot. That's a good shift. Was that Russ? Yeah, that was Russ on the right side. So, you know, Sid was already having a big voice in the room when he was only 18 years old, and when he got 19 years old, that's when Ray Shero got in the team, and then we got Michel Terry and everything, and it became Sid's team when he was 19 years old. So that's pretty young. It's like if you take Kendall next year, he's the captain of your team, and he runs the drills, and he brings accountability to the team. It's pretty young to be able to do that with a team full of veterans, but Sid already had that. He was so mature, so experienced. Well, he was not experienced, but he was so good at hockey at the start. But it's one thing to be good at hockey, but it's another thing to be an amazing human and to be a leader. So he was the perfect guy to bring to actually do that culture.
Max, all tied up here 2-2 as the first period starts to wind down, under a minute. Of course, different things that we've been bringing here to Unobstructed Views, that ISO cam of Gino.
It's so cool, because we would have not seen him on the main cam, right? So that's what's fun about having an ISO cam, is that we saw Malkin going at it with Falk there, and to me, this is when Evgeni Malkin plays his best hockey. And I will always remember in playoffs, Gino was playing like that. When Gino goes and he throws his body around, he blocks some shot, and he plays with grit, you have no choice but to stand up on the bench and be excited because when a skilled guy plays with emotion like that and brings other stuff that he's not supposed to, that's when guys like me and everybody else on the bench are like, let's go, Gino's on, we got to go too. So I love to see Evgeni Malkin playing that way.
A good level of expectation to set heading into the locker room right now after seeing that. Of course, coming up next, stay tuned with us. We have Stanley Cup champion Hal Gill joining us for a ton of storylines. We also have a lot more from Max talking about the big three, specifically Sidney Crosby, his impact off the ice, the things you don't see. Stay tuned with us. That's all coming up next on Unobstructed Views.
Dan Mears is trying out a lot of different things right now. I'm assuming that we might, depending how the team does, even see some players get called up. I mean, if the Penguins continue to struggle, I could see maybe some guys like Tristan Brose and Avery Hayes getting an opportunity at some point this season. And I know General Manager Kyle Dubas just talked with Josh about that in their recent episode of Penguins Game Plan. So let's just take a listen here and hear what Dubas had to say about those young prospects.
Two guys that got some opportunities in your top six. Tristan Brose, I know, granted, lineups changed night to night. The preseason was centering the top line on a couple of occasions. Yeah. What'd you make of their preseason? And was it a similar kind of thought of these are top line opportunities in Wilkes as opposed to maybe a little bit different here?
With Tristan going into camp, starting in Buffalo, we wanted to put him in a good position to we felt he had earned that last year. We used him as the placeholder in the first two exhibition games with the wingers that had been practicing with Sid and Gino to see how he would do going into Montreal, into Columbus, playing against their top lines on the road. Felt he played well, then felt he had a bit of a drop off in the middle of camp, and then came on strong at the end. And we feel he's knocking right at the door. Avery was excellent in Buffalo at the Prospect Showcase. He had a strong start early, and then right around the middle of the camp, he started both in practice and the games, just thought his effectiveness dropped, and then at the end he pushed his way back again and finished very strong. He's just someone that we feel embodies everything that we want to be about on the developmental side. They're there, they're banging on the door. Can they go down, play huge minutes, and continue to exert themselves? And much in the way that Ville did throughout the year last year, but particularly at the end, and Rutger the same way, and earn their way up. So.
Yeah, good stuff there. Dan, you and I were at practice, one of the last practices of the year before the opening season would happen. And remember Tristan Brose, he just had a really sad look on his face. I think he really thought he was going to make the team this year. But unfortunately, when we saw a smaller group out for that early morning practice, we kind of knew, right, that practice was going to be the B team, if you will, that wasn't making the roster. But I felt like we saw a lot of good things from him, right? He was used in all areas of the game, PK, power play, kind of jumbled him around different lines as well. And then you got a guy in Avery Hayes who came here on an AHL contract, earned himself an NHL contract in March. So a couple of young guys, maybe we'll see them at some point this season.
Well, you heard Kyle talk about both of them, and it's obviously he doesn't like them very much at all. I mean, let's be honest.
Doesn't think they're talented at all. Yeah.
Right. So, well, Kyle has made his plan very clear. Want to get some young guys in here. 13 players drafted just a few months ago this summer in the draft, and he's giving the kids a good long look. And, I think, sure, of course, Tristan's going to be disappointed in the fact that he didn't make the team, but, he goes to Wilkes where he played last year and had a really good season for the baby Penguins. He's back now getting some more seasoning with the opportunity to continue to build on his play and what he's doing offensively for that team. And, last season, when I was with the Penguins in Denver, I had a chance to go pay a visit to his old college coach.
That's right.
Or pay a visit to his old college and speak to his old college coach at Denver University, where and he was also Coach Carl was very happy to talk about the fact that he enjoyed watching how Tristan was able to grow up at the college level and how he matured as a player and helped them in the playoffs and helped them succeed and turn that corner. And he was not surprised by the success that he was having at that time with Wilkes-Barre Scranton. So I think the learning curve is continuing for him. And let's be honest, I think the future is very bright for him. It's just a matter of timing and when. And the same thing for Avery Hayes. He had a great camp. Here's a guy that opened up a lot of eyes with what he was able to do, not only during practice, but in games, in preseason games for the Penguins. So same thing. They're getting some extra seasoning. They're getting more playing time. And really, that's what it's all about, because it does them no good if they're going to be here with the big club and they just sit and don't get a chance to play. Now, I'm sure they continue to learn and practice from guys like Crosby and Malkin and Letang and Rust and Raquel. Who wouldn't learn? And I, we've talked about this before. Fans that come out to watch can learn so much at practice, because what they do at practice is what that in turn is executed on game night. But still, nothing can, substitute a game. So if they're just going to sit here and not play, it does them no good. So they're at Wilkes and they're continuing to fine tune their game. I am excited about what the future has in store for not only them, but for the rest of the young players that the Penguins continued to try to have acquired this past summer in the draft. And let's face it, there's a long list of picks that Dubas has got in his pocket moving forward.
Yeah, well said. I mean, you mentioned the preseason. I remember same thing with Ville Koivunen going down right now to get some reps, but it was him, Avery Hayes, as well as Ben Kindle. Remember how well they were playing against Detroit's top line, Buffalo's top line with Tage Thompson. I mean, they controlled the majority of shot attempts, and their line was the one that was mostly going up against those top lines. So I think they've proven that they can hang at this level. But hey, you can't give everybody a chance on that opening night roster. Ben Kindle, we'll see if he stays past 9 games, but if he does go back to his junior team after nine games, I wouldn't be surprised if Bros or Hayes got called up. But, what do you think about Ben Kindle so far with that? I mean, I'm wondering, is there anything left for him to actually learn at the junior level of hockey with just how well he's fit in to this NHL level? What do you think they're going to do?
Great question. I don't know what they're going to do, but it's probably a good problem to have, because he's already forcing them to make this decision, right? The fact that he's here and that they could not send him back. And the same thing with Harrison Brunick, the fact that they've earned the opportunity to play at this level. And Dan Mears said that, like, they've earned this. So I don't want to say they forced their hand, but hey, they have said, hey, guys, we can play here and we can be effective. Both have scored goals. Both are hanging with the big club, playing with veterans and making some noise. Even if they were to go back, again, same thing. They're 18, 19 years old. they obviously will not be there next season. The fact that they're here now just shows you what they can do at this level.
It's been interesting.
It's a great. I don't know what the team's going to do. Back in 2006, the Penguins drafted Jordan Stahl, who was 18 years old, and I think that the thought was back then that he'll only be here for a handful of games, but he went out and scored 20 plus goals, turned a lot of heads, and then it was excellent on the penalty kill, and it was a mainstay and a focal point on that team all season long. So
how do you not keep him?
I don't know. It's a difficult decision.
Very
but
interesting.
I think and I think it's challenging the coaching staff to make a difficult decision. But that's a good thing, because it just shows that they've got some talent knocking on the door, ready to play. So we'll see where it goes. But I don't know. Even the fact that they didn't play Harrison last night in Anaheim, because it's part of the plan. We're going to develop these younger players our way. We've been down this road before with other players. Let's give him a rest. He's done playing well. He could probably play every minute of every game because he's 19 years old, but we're going to give him a rest physically, maybe a rest mentally. It's part of the plan to develop them in what they feel is the right way. Okay. All right. So if he goes back, that's probably part of that same plan.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Interesting to see who's going to be sent down and who might get called up. Did you ever hear, by the way, Avery Hayes, of how he found out he was earning the NHL contract in March? He was getting a massage at the time, and his agent was trying to get a hold of him to tell him the news. And he was ignoring the calls because he was enjoying a massage. So his agent, later in the day, he finally calls him back and he's like, dude, I've been trying to get a hold of you. He was like, sorry, I was getting a massage. It's the end of the season. I'm trying to, keep my body right. But I thought that was pretty funny because, young guys, they're always on their phone. Of course, the one time someone tries to get a hold of him, to get a massage. So Marc-Andre Fleury, of course, your buddy, Flower, you just got to see him for a little bit, which was so nice, his homecoming in Pittsburgh. He played 9 consecutive games to start the 2015-16 season, all right? Okay, but who started in goal in the 10th game of that year? I don't know the answer. You don't know the answer. What do you think? I feel like Matt Murray. I don't think so. I feel like we're being tricked here. I'm going to go with Jeff Zatkoff. What do you think?
So I would think that most people would say Matt Murray just because of the way that season ended, where Matt saw a lot of playing time and helped the Penguins win that Stanley Cup championship, the first half of back-to-back. But I actually know the answer because Jeff was such a character on that team. He stood out even though he was the backup, and then the other backup as Murray became more of a dominant factor as that season moved forward. In fact, he started because of injuries to Fleury and Murray at the start of the playoffs, the first round against the New York Rangers.
Yeah.
Zatkoff was had to start games 1 and 2 against the Rangers. He won game 1. And later on, fast forward, the Penguins win the Stanley Cup, and he would, I think it was as the playoffs moving forward and they would have success, he called himself Mr. Game 1 because he won the very first game that led towards their march to a Stanley Cup championship. Mr. Game 1. And it was, I think he came up with it himself, but it became like the running joke in the room and everything. He was so much fun to be around, but Mr. Game 1. Yeah. So that was the opportunity for him to shine in game 10 of the regular season, but really it was Mr. Game 1 in the postseason that was be remembered for, at least in my mind.
I love that. I feel like I need to use that phrase moving forward. Like our first broadcast of the year, if we do a good job, I'm going to call you Mr. First Broadcast of the Year, Dan. Does that work for you?
Oh, oh,
Among
okay.
many other nicknames, Dan. Among many others.
Okay. As long as they're nice.
But he was a nice guy, though. You loved working with him during his time with the Pens.
Yeah, just a great guy. I think he's in finance now. I'm not sure where he's located, but just a fun guy. He just had a great sense of humor. You just really, here was a guy that was never the main goaltender, but just loved playing the game. He was so, excited to be part of the team, and anything he could, when he did get the opportunity to play, it meant so much to him, and even more so when he won. But just he loved having fun. He was again that 16 and 17 teams, or those two teams, had so many characters, and there were so many storylines and so much fun, much like the 09 team. And I guess you could say that about any Stanley Cup championship team. When they win, and the players break it down, and they talk about they had this, they had that. There were so many chapters to why they were able to win, and it has. Yes, it has a lot to do with their talent on the ice, but it's also who they were away or off the ice, and the personalities and what they did, the jokes they played on each other, or the things that they did on the plane, or whatever it may be. And Jeff was just one of those. He was fun. And I remember when he got his ring, he was so happy. And you couldn't be happier for a guy like that, because again, he was Mr. Game One. And he will let you know that too, in a fun way. And again, just so much, you felt you could just easily be a fan of his, because he was a guy that really, truly enjoyed being part of the team.
Here, we don't just watch the Penguins. We live every tipped puck.
Unbelievable.
Every battle.
Give me more of this.
Every new prospect.
This is a glimpse of the future.
Everything you love about the Pens, we do too.
I'm down here between the benches.
You know what that means, Pens fans?
Cheers for that.
The fuck did they score?
We manifested it.
Stream the Penguins all season long on SNP 360.
No one gets you ready for puck drop like Penguins Face Off Live. Pre-game insights, analysis, and a word straight from the coach. Penguins Face Off Live before every game on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield.
team, but they have some young players also in the lineup, so they have to be careful of that and definitely come out as hard as they did at the start of the game for the start of the second.
Max, you always bring us such interesting insight. We see the ins and outs of the game that maybe we wouldn't see unless we were sitting next to a Stanley Cup champion. But what's better than one Stanley Cup champion is two Stanley Cup champions on your screen at the same time. We have Hal Gill joining us, a Stanley Cup champion with the Pittsburgh Penguins from 2009. 16 seasons in the NHL as we are underway here again in PPG Paints Arena for the start of the second period. But having Hal Gill with us now is such a privilege. Hal, welcome to the broadcast.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. I've enjoyed the show so far. A good game, and you guys are awesome. Thanks for having me on.
We are so grateful to have you here, and I have to say, we love the swag that you brought with you. I mean, you dressed for the occasion.
You know, some guys, you know, they live in the past. I'm not one of those guys. You know, like no. I'm up to date. I don't live in what I did in the past. I like to stay updated in what I'm doing now.
Right, move onward and upward. Hal Gill obviously won the Stanley Cup with the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2009. He's still celebrating. We are too in Pittsburgh, and we're hoping to bring that energy back to Pittsburgh with this team this year. So that's what we're doing. We're bringing you both on so we can bring this good aura to start the season.
Yeah, and we all know that the players, the Penguins players, are watching the show during their intermission, right? So they're taking our advice and everything. But Skillsy, I got to say, you are one of my favorite teammates that I ever played with. You would bring energy, you would bring fun to the locker room, to the games. You would slide all over the ice, and you would cover about 20 feet of ice. And Skillsy, just to start, like, what are you're obviously in Nashville now. What are you doing with your time right now?
I'm doing the broadcast for Nashville. I do a little bit of radio, a little bit of TV. I'm kind of, you know, we got a good crew down here in Nashville, and I played 2 years here, and we loved it. And so we moved back here, and, you know, I got 2 kids in college and 1 kid that's a 14-year-old boy that's 6'3" now, and he's driving me crazy, and he's busy, and we're having a good time.
Does he play hockey also? Your girls are they into lacrosse?
Lacrosse players, yeah.
Yeah,
they're playing lacrosse at University of Rhode Island, and Talon is a lacrosse player, a hockey player, football player. He's kind of feeling it out. He doesn't know what he's doing, but
I think with his size,
he's a lot like me.
Yeah, he's going to have some options.
yeah, he can do. I'm sure he's a great athlete like you. But how have you been enjoying retirement? I know it's been like 12 years. You're done. Right?
Too long. Yeah. Has it been that long, Max?
I think so.
My last year was in Philadelphia with me, hanging out with you, and yeah, it's been good. I miss it, man. Obviously, look at me. We all miss it, but you know, it's exciting to do different things and doing the broadcast, and you guys are doing cool things. It's fun trying to figure it out, but I miss the boys. You know, and I appreciate all your nice comments. I think, you know, I always say you're my favorite teammate ever because you scored 2 goals in Game 7. It got me a Stanley Cup, so I'll take that. So thank you, mon ami. But that's, yeah, no, we had some great times, and it was a good run, and I do miss it.
What do you remember from that? You know, let's talk about 2008. You got traded in Pittsburgh, and what do you remember, like, coming over, like, you know, losing the Stanley Cup final and then winning the next year? What were your favorite moments about that?
I just think the journey we went through, you know, like, and you know, since I'm talking to you, I'll bring you up first. I know you're talking about the big 3, but I just remember we played against Detroit, and we lost that one, Game 6. It was a good run, but we lost it. And like the next year, I remember talking to you. We were talking about how we're going to handle the next series, and you know, you said, and I still remember the meeting. You said, I tried to trash talk these guys. I get in there under their skin, and nothing I ever did got under the Detroit Red Wings. So we have to change the way we do things, and I think being part of that and changing the way we did things, and you know, going out there and you just put your head down and started grinding, and you became like a different player, right? I think you embraced it and you had so much fun. You put your mouth aside and you started playing. And, you got under his skin so many times that was part of your game. But you had to redefine your game, and I think we all did. And I think that's the thing that I remember most about those years.
What do you think it was, though, that you guys figured out? When you're talking about you've tried all these things, what was it that was the turning point then? How did you start to identify yourselves, redefine how you played?
I don't know, Max. You got an answer for that? I think there's a lot of things.
Yeah, they were so mature, The Red Wings were really like a powerhouse, right? So they were so good, but you couldn't talk to Lidstrom. Like, he would have looked at you, he didn't care about you so much. He cared about playing hockey. So for us, it was about that. You're so right in what you say. Everybody accepted their role. Remember the Stahl, Kennedy, Cook line. Everybody was just on the same page. And I had a chance to play with Evgeni Malkin too on the line. So for me, I would go from a grinder that's try to start stuff around and try to get to like, okay, let's just play hockey and try to compete with them at that level. And that's what worked. And thinking about you, Hal, when I have memory of Game 7 and these times, I think about you and Scuds, you and Rob Scuderi, like you were such a force for us because they were like the two defensive-minded like guys that I often think about the last moment of Game 7 when we're all on the ice. It's me, you, Scuderi, Craig Adams, and Chris Kunitz that are just there and trying to block shots and try to, secure the victory. And that was great. And Skillsy, what is your favorite moment after winning the cup? I have a mental image of me and you, and I think I could find the picture of me and you and Mario Lemieux's fountain that night when we were smoking a cigar when the sun was coming up. Oh, that was so great. That was so great.
Well, I think that my favorite thing is, and it's so clear in my head, is right after the game, everyone's on the ice, and I moved the net, and I sat on the back of the net. Like, I was just tired. Like, we were just tired, right? And I had a bottle of champagne, and I was sitting on the back of the net. My daughter was coming over and talking to me, and I have a picture of that. And I still remember that moment, like we gave it everything we got, right? Like that was the best part. Oh, baby,
what a
that's
shot.
A snipe right there.
That was a great shot again. Yeah, that was they moved the puck in the offensive zone for about a minute and a half, so the Blues were very tired, and that's what happens sometimes more often in the second period, right? So there was a delayed penalty on Malkin too. But you're 6 guys on the ice. The St. Louis Blues are very tired, and you got the 2 big dogs on the ice at the same time. And you move the puck around them, right? And these guys were caught tired, and they moved it very well. And it's not easy 6 against 5. Even when you remove your goalie, there's less room on the ice too. I'd rather be 5-on-4 than 6-on-5, right? Because it's tougher to create some opportunity. But what a shot from Witherspoon there!
That is a laser.
That is a laser.
And I know playing Witherspoon. That's one you want to keep on the highlight reel. You know what though? You throw Gino and Sid, and I played against them and with them, and you put them out. It's hard to stop. Like there's a lot of options. You try to take them away, and then they'll find someone. Like right now, Gino's a dishing magician out there. He's finding everyone. Yeah. How many apples does he have now? That's
13. Well, if he has one 13? There, it's 14. So I don't know if he has one, but it's 13.
That's a good season for me. I'll take that. You just started, but those guys are so tough to stop. You said that well, Max. You were talking about talent versus skill and the way they prepare. Like Gino likes to let it rip, and I think Sid is more of a cerebral. Like he has to work at it, and he thrives off that commitment to it. Yeah. So you nailed that. Your TED Talk was nailed.
He was listening.
You were listening. That's good, Skills.
Someone listens to Max.
Yeah,
tell us a little something.
I don't usually listen to Max. I just let him go off and talk and try to meet him at the end. But this time I was listening. It was good stuff, Max.
Yeah. Well, guys, real quick though, too, just to note here, Sidney Crosby is now officially 1 point away from 1,700 in his career, if you can believe that or not, Max.
That's a lot of points. That's. You said 13 assists is a good season, but for Malkin and Crosby, these are small numbers. But Skillsy, tell us a little bit about Kris Letang. You know, you get in the team 2008, 2009, because we're obviously talking about Sid and Gino, but let's talk about the big three dogs. You know, Kris Letang. When you get in the team like that, he's a young stud. You know, and did you ever talk to him, or what was your thoughts on him when you showed up in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, well, he was a young guy, and he's just trying to figure it out. And I think my favorite memory is he was driving me from practice or to practice anyway, and someone recognized him, and I said, "Oh, you're like the king around here." And he goes, "No, not the king, the Prince of Pittsburgh." He said he called himself the Prince. They're like, he had swagger,
yes.
Right, and I always used to love making fun of him, and you know, I think he kind of enjoyed it as well. Like, he just
give us
around.
1 second, Hal. We have to go to break, but we'd love to hear more about the Prince of Pittsburgh after that pretty goal too when we come back.
Inside Penguins Hockey is back.
Let's go eat sushi.
For an all-new season.
And now he's your best friend.
Yeah. Getting a line in the water is always a joy for me.
Inside Penguins Hockey. New episodes every month on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by UPMC Health Plan. The road to puck drop begins on Penguins Tonight. A first look at the latest game news, stories from around the league, and so much more. Penguins Tonight, 1 hour before every game on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by Morgan & Morgan.
Welcome back to Unobstructed Views. We were talking about the Prince of Pittsburgh, Kris Letang himself, and how about his overtime winner, Game 3, 2009, in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Max, did he deserve a crown for that one?
Oh, yes. Kris Letang deserves a crown. After 3 Stanley Cups, you know, you definitely deserve a crown in this town, and that was a nice pass from Mark Eaton, and Sidney Crosby just wins his face-off. But I could remember that round like if it was yesterday. You know, we played against Washington, which had a very, very good team, and we got them to Game 7. And to me, Game 7 was a crazy game. You had a breakaway from Alexander Ovechkin in the first moment of the first period, and then Fleury just robbed them with a glove save, and then we ended up taking the game over, winning 5-0, I think, for Game 7. Scalesy, what do you remember from these moments?
Yeah, no, I loved that. I feel like we had 2 guys that were competing with Ovechkin all the time, right? Every time we played Washington, it was Gino that wanted to prove that he's the best. Oh,
that was tight.
What's going on? You have Gino that wanted to prove he was the best Russian, and Sid wanted to just be the best player on the planet all the time. And so every time we played the Caps, it was lights out entertainment. It was like, how many games did we see like hat trick and hat trick, like Ovi and Sid going back and forth, and it was a lot of fun. Like I as a fan of hockey, like, never mind I have to defend against these guys. I was like, this is pretty awesome. We're on the ice while this is happening, right?
Yeah, and you remember exactly that game too. I don't remember which game it was, but it was both hat tricks. Sid and Ovi had a hat trick during that game. It was just wild. And once we beat them, I thought that's when we kind of knew also that, you know, that was in the second round. We knew we were going to go in Carolina, and we won game in 4 games, the conference, the East, the final against them, and then we had a chance to go back against Detroit. And just to go back there too, I remember watching the games. I think it was Chicago against Detroit. We clinched in 4 games against Carolina, and I remember watching Chicago, Detroit. I don't remember how many games they went at it, but I wanted to play Detroit so bad again. I wanted my revenge, you know. Osa went to Detroit, and it was kind of an extra little motivation in some way. Nothing against the guy, he was such a good player, but that was the time, man. That was the time, Skillsy.
And I also remember, you remember that commercial, right? With Sid on the bench, and it's frozen in time, and he gets out and says, "Never again will I let this happen."
Yeah.
And it was like just written in the stars, like this is we're gonna get our revenge, and Sid's gonna win, and we're gonna be a part of it. And I just saw that commercial, and I was like, "Oh, this is meant to be."
Yeah, that was great. Skillsy, talk to me. We got to go to break.
When we come back, though, there's so much more we got to talk about here, from Skillsy stories of the Big Three, the Stanley Cup Finals, and so much more on Unobstructed Views. Stay with us.
No one gets you ready for puck drop like Penguins Face Off Live. Pre-game insights, analysis, and a word straight from the coach. Penguins Face Off Live before every game on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Here, we don't just watch the Penguins. We live every tipped puck.
Unbelievable.
Every battle.
Give me more of this.
Every new prospect.
This is a glimpse of the future.
Everything you love about the Pens, we do too.
I'm down here between the benches.
You know what that means, Pens fans?
Cheers to that.
At the front, did they score?
We manifested it.
Stream the Penguins all season long on SNP 360.
Welcome back to Unobstructed Views, giving you an alternate way to enjoy the Pittsburgh Penguins broadcast tonight as they lead 3-2, a big goal, Max. They got there to extend the lead by Wotherspoon. Of course, we're joined by Stanley Cup champion Hal Gill as well. He's been a great guest, very fitted for the occasion as well. We had just reminisced and talked so much about that 2009 Cup win, but Max, we're so interested as well all the time to hear about players and where they've come from and how they got to be a Stanley Cup champion and where they went after. And I know you talked a lot about yourself, but you respect a lot about Hal Gill and his career as well.
For sure. I mean, for a guy like Al Gill, 1,108 games in the NHL, that's just amazing. But Skillsy, what do you remember about 2009, 2010? So we win a Stanley Cup and you signed for the Montreal Canadiens, right? That season after, my hometown, and you went to learn French down there. And what do you remember from that? Because you had a chance, like me, to play in the last game ever in the Mellon Arena, which was 2010. That was a crazy playoff series where I still can't believe that the Penguins lost. It was the Alak Price thing, and Alak was just such a goalie, a great goalie. They beat Washington the first round in 7 games, and then it came to the Mellon Arena and they beat us in 7. What do you remember about this, and was it hard to play against your ex-teammates?
Oh, God, yeah. No, you know what? It was, there's so many stories I could tell you about that series. But yeah, I wanted a 2-year deal, and I remember, God bless him, rest in peace, Ray Shero. He said, I can't give you the 2 years. I want you for 1 year, and I wanted a family. And so anyway, Montreal opened up, and it was a great fit for me. I enjoyed Montreal. You got a good place up there, Max. It's I know you love it, but I still miss it. It's a great spot. But we had a great run, and I remember I told Gino, and I used to mess around with him in practice and tell him I'm going to shut you down if you don't sign me. I'm going to play for another team, and I'm going to shut you down and make your life miserable. And I used to tell him that in practice all the time. And then to be able to win and shut down Mellon Arena was was big for me. It was like a bittersweet thing because I loved that awful place. The Igloo was kind of dreadful, but it was our home, right? Like you got to love it. But that series was tough. I remember I got Chris Kunitz jumped on the back of my leg. I spent the night in the hospital because they had to do surgery on the back of my leg, and then I tried to play in Game 6, which was crazy in Montreal, and then made it back for Game 7. Sid came at me 100 miles an hour, and I swear to God, my leg just buckled under me, and I went, whoa! And I remember my partner, Josh Georges, at the time was like, I got to help you out because you're struggling right now.
Did you finish the game?
We found a way to get it done, and those guys are so hard to play against. I said that before. It's the Penguins at that time. I loved playing with them. It was a highlight every night, but playing against them was a battle, but something I loved the challenge because those guys are so good. And trying to play against Sid, we all know like his backhand pass is just as good as his forehand. You can't keep up with it.
Yeah, and he's got such a big butt too, so he protects his puck like anybody else, right? Like
no one gets lower than that guy.
Yeah,
you can't get lower than him.
Yeah, talk about the start of your career, Hal, because you're a Massachusetts guy, Boston guy. Played the college in Providence, I think, and then after that, started your career with the Boston Bruins. Boston Bruins, like 8th round pick, I think, or 7, 8, whatever.
8th round.
Just like me, just like me. I was an 8th rounder too. So, but you started your career for the Bruins. How did that feel for you? Was it something you wanted to do, and playing for your hometown team, was it special?
It was eye-opening. I think I was naive. I didn't know what was going on, but the Bruins signed me out of college, and I figured I'd play a couple of years in the minors in Providence. I was already in Providence, so that was easy. And I went to camp, and Ray Bork was my first guy they put me with. And the best play in hockey was just give it to Ray. I just pass it over, and I'd hold up and try to protect him as much as I could. And I stuck with that team. It was tough though, being 6'7", and at that time I was the tallest guy in the NHL, and every fighter, every time, everywhere I went, someone wanted to fight me, and so I had to answer the bell. And I want to say I probably never lost a fight, Max, but it's all how perspective, right? You stood in there and you took some punches. I've seen you do that before, right? You take some punches, but you stand in and you get it done.
We'll talk about Max's boxing skills when we come back on Unobstructed Views.
The gamer.
Inside Penguins Hockey is back.
Let's go eat sushi.
For an all-new season.
And now he's your best friend.
Yeah. Getting a line in the water is always a joy for me.
Inside Penguins Hockey. New episodes every month on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by UPMC Health Plan. The road to puck drop begins on Penguins Tonight. A first look at the latest game news, stories from around the league, and so much more. Penguins Tonight, 1 hour before every game on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by Morgan & Morgan.
Welcome back to Unobstructed Views. My name is Hannah Mears, alongside 2 Stanley Cup champions. Not myself, it's fine. Max Talbot and Hal Gill, but I got the privilege to watch you both win a Stanley Cup. And what everyone didn't see during the break was me teach Max how to throw a proper punch. Didn't knock him out, but that's okay. It's because we needed him here. But how before the break we were just talking about how you had to step up and you had to be the enforcer and had to change that role in your career. And we're just curious, what was that like for you, sort of having to switch your identity a bit in the NHL?
Yeah, it was tough. I won't lie to you. I didn't really like it. I'll fight for my teammates, but I didn't like the staged fights. When I had to go to bed thinking about I was going to fight someone, I didn't like that. If I'm in a scrum and I get to punch Sean Avery in the face, give me I'll sign up for that.
Me too.
Any day.
Me too.
But that's what I liked about hockey is fight when you're mad. But the stage fighting, I have so much respect. And one of the guys, Eric Goddard, hey Max, is there a better teammate in the world?
No.
I don't think so. That guy went out and did it for us, and I respect those guys. But it was a few years into my career where I decided I'm not going to go to bed thinking about fighting. I'm gonna play hockey and try to be a shutdown D and do my job. And if fighting happens, I'll deal with it. But I think that was a turning point in probably more my mental state than my career. I look at that as something you have to be built different to want to go out there and fight.
Yeah, and looking back,
Max
skills.
did it.
Yeah.
Max is just a little guy. You go out there and chuck him with the best of them.
Yeah, but that's
I respect
easy.
the heck out of you.
That was easy for me.
Do.
No, that was easy for me because, like you said, in my head, I never lost a fight because all the guys I fought were bigger than me. So you go in there with okay, whatever. If I lose, it's not a problem. But for you, for a big guy, it's really different. And good on you because I don't think you would have played 1,100 games in the NHL if you would have, kept at that role. And for you to be able to adjust and work in your strength of being a defenseman, like a defensive defenseman, and being able to be on the ice with 6 seconds left on the Stanley Cup team, it's pretty amazing what you were able to do. I got a question for you about the Four Nations and the Olympic this year. We're in the Olympic year. You're proud American. What did you think of the Four Nations, and what do you expect out of the guys playing an Olympic year?
That's why fighting is I don't get me wrong. I want to fight in the right time. And those were kind of staged fights, but talk about engaging. I am ready for this. For those guys to jump out there and get after it, I thought was the coolest thing ever. I just think it set the tone, and then you have the best on best. It was so fun to watch. I'm so excited. The Olympics is one of my favorite things ever, and I was on the taxi squad, and I never made it into an Olympic game. But I was there and I was part of it, and that's one of the dreams, right? I mean, you want to win a Stanley Cup, you want to win a gold medal, and I think these guys are committed to it, and that's fun to see. Even for the Four Nations, I didn't think it was going to be that big, but my goodness,
it was nuts.
Those guys obviously cared about it.
Yeah,
that was some great hockey.
I was there at the Canadian and American game where the 3 fights started the game, and I tell you, I was with Biz and Whitney in a box watching the game, and it was just, we were going crazy about it. It was almost like you couldn't understand what was going on. I got a stupid question for you. At the Olympics, are they going to keep the same rules, or there are international rules about fighting? Can you go out there and fight twice in a game, or
I think it's the IOC. I think it's going to be Olympic rules. So I don't think you're going to have fighting. I just think it's the intensity that I think is going to be there
for sure. And there's no fighter dressed either.
World Cup will go back to NHL rules.
Yeah, no, for sure, makes sense.
It's interesting to hear the different rules and everything that people might not think about. But Hal, it's been incredible to have you here and hear all these stories. I'm just a privilege to be surrounded by you both. Truthfully, the stories are awesome. And someone like myself who grew up a Pittsburgh fan, I think it's so cool that you came on here. You wear the Stanley Cup gear. You're all for it. You're telling all of these stories. And I know Pittsburgh fans watching at home love to hear these stories from you guys. So Hal, we only have you for a couple more minutes. I'd love to know, what was your favorite memory about being a Pittsburgh Penguin? You know, you've played for different organizations throughout the NHL, but what did it mean to play in Pittsburgh to you?
There's one game in particular that we got beat 7-1, and I don't remember the game or the circumstance, but I was new to Pittsburgh, and I went out of the rink, and Max, you remember outside the igloo, they'd all stand up, all the fans would be there, and I had my head down, I was buried, and I was depressed, and I had a handful, probably 30 fans going, we're going to get them next time, you guys keep trying, keep working. And I fell in love with the Pittsburgh fans, and I think that's the biggest thing about being in Pittsburgh is the team was awesome. Obviously, we all know that. We won a cup. It's great. The players were great. You're one of the best teammates I ever had. We had such a close-knit group, but I think just being in that city and being around those fans, that was probably the thing that I'll treasure the most.
And it's so true, Hal, because we played for other teams before and after, and me just after, but I never found that back, you know. First of all, if you look at 2009, we're gonna have a bond like forever together. We were together at the Marc-Andre Fleury retirement night, so Hal came down with his beautiful wife in Montreal, and we were, I think, 6 or 7 guys from 2009, you know, like Fleury's favorite teammate from 2009. Sorry, the other guys, but it was so great, and I can go on and on talking about, you know, the fans in Pittsburgh and what it meant to us. But Skillsy, thank you so much for your time tonight. It was great for you to take a time off from. I know you work for the Nashville Predators, but for you to come and talk to us and to all the fans just means a lot tonight.
Thank you so much.
Merci,
it's been a
mon
pleasure.
ami.
Love you, bud.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Anytime.
you. Thank you. Good luck as well to the Predators. Not too much luck, though. We're all about the Pens here as they lead 3-2, heading into the third period. So much more coming your way on Unobstructed Views.
All right, let's stay with defense, but move to the Penguins' crease and talk about the goaltending situation. And I guess it's a 1-2 punch, because we've seen both goaltenders get a fair shake, because it's one goalie one night, the next goalie the next night. It's been a 50-50 split, and Artur Shilov's got a chance to shine last night against his former team. And I would think the opportunity to do that is motivation in itself, and he did not disappoint with his showing last night. A goal got by him early, but after that, he stopped, 23 of 24 shots overall to beat his former team, where he didn't spend a lot of time, but he was quick to talk about, or he spoke at the morning skate, how he did learn a lot while he was in that organization, and he did some pretty good things. He helped them win a playoff series against Nashville in 2024.
Yeah, I think if you look back at his track record, even he got Latvia their first medal at World Championships. I think he had like 50 or 60 saves. That was obviously a few years ago. And as you mentioned, hopping into Vancouver's playoffs there a few years ago and sealing the deal in the end to end the series. And then last year, even, being part of the American Hockey League Calder Cup Championships, winning the MVP. So anytime he's been under the gun, it seems like he's risen. So I think this is definitely a great steal for the Penguins. And I think, with Jari and him rotating, I think it keeps them both fresh. And Jari as well, obviously he's had, I would just say, a tough few years here so far. But again, it's that mindset. And I think together they're pushing each other. And I think you got to really look at the guys in front of them as well. There's not giving up so many grade A chances, but they both have been so far this season when the time is needed for that big save. They both been able to make that big save, where I feel like the last few years, some of those have just squeaked in, or we haven't been able to get those timely saves. And I think you hear them both kind of say that in some of the post-game interviews, right? You got to make the save when it matters. I know you look at Bennington there in St. Louis. That's kind of everyone. His nod is when the game's on the line, they know he's going to make that save. And I believe this will be a great goalie here for the future of the Penguins.
This is not the first time a couple of goaltenders have gone back and forth, and we don't know how long this may continue. It's a long season. But can we dig a little deeper into what the pros and cons may be? And you already talked about the fact that they could both stay fresh, right? There's never a chance, at least so far, there has not been the opportunity for one of them to get cold. They're both going to be sharp, knowing that the next game, most likely, they're going to get back in the crease and play it. So no one's going to have to shake off any rust. But what are some of the pluses and minuses of having an opportunity to go back and forth between two goaltenders?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say there's too many negatives. Maybe the one guy, unless they're like egos or kind of like, I want to be the guy. But again, I think they both are team first guys. So, at the end of the day, it's just like, geez, if I get to rest and then, feel better. I mean, those guys are taking a lot of shots. The backup goalie staying after practice and working. So, again, I think if they, can rotate and stay fresh, they're going to have, maybe a little stronger push each game or whatever, maybe a little more, maybe better focus. And I think it's, especially now with how fast the game is and how sharp you have to be, those game situations with traffic, tracking the puck. And I mean, it's a lot more tiring than we probably think from sitting up in our seats than when you're in that goalie stance there, pushing back and forth when they're in the offensive zone there night after night. So when you add in the travel and some of those little things, again, you don't want all that adds up. So again, I think if you can keep two guys fresh and then, hopefully come playoff time, you maybe can ride the guy that's in the zone there. But again, I think it's a good thing. And I think it makes it more about, I think, the team as well. The guys in front of them want to play well each night for both goalies. So it kind of brings everyone together, I think, too.
Brian, what's the communication like? I mean, you get used to playing with guys on the ice, you develop some chemistry, and I think there has to be a steady line of communication, especially between defensemen and a goaltender. But I guess everyone, depending on where the puck is on the ice or who's back there retrieving the puck. But then you change goaltenders. Is it just an easy turn of the page and all of a sudden you're communicating with the other guy one night and then this guy the next night? Or can there be a little bit of a challenge or a hurdle involved with that?
It would be, a little bit. I know Sheloff, he has broken English, so maybe they have code words back there. Goaltending coach Andy Chiodo has them maybe doing something similar. So the D, no, over, hard rim, or just keep it very simple. And that's where I know, I haven't really thought too much about how they both handle the puck. Maybe Jari might be a little better, easier to come out and then help his defense get set or make that pass. But I think even Jari, was he shooting for an empty net the other night too? Didn't he try for another empty net goal? So, I mean, I know as a defenseman or even a forward, I remember we had Mike Smith as a goalie when he was back there. The other team would dump it, and he's like a third defenseman back there. So the D loved it. They didn't have to get run through the wall. So, if those guys can help those defense, get out of the zone easier, everyone's all for it. But I think that communication is important, and I'm sure they review what that is. Maybe that's a good question you can ask them.
Well, let me ask you what I hope is a good question. I think it was maybe your last season with the Penguins. I don't think it was an even split, but I think you played with three different goalies throughout that season. I think it was Marc-Andre Fleury, Ty Conklin, and Danny Sabrin. So, again, it was almost like keep your head on a swivel because we could have, a different guy, not almost every other night, but throughout the season, you played with different guys. So to keep that communication open and develop that chemistry with three different goaltenders, or however many it may be, I think is super important, right?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I wasn't too worried about it. I just had to get back to my wall usually, but the defenseman for sure. It is a big difference, and that communication is important because you definitely see some of those fluke goals or the miscommunication goals, unfortunately. when you kind of have those new netminders back there with some of these defensemen as well. You got them all over the world here trying to speak English. So you got to have definitely a plan in place to how to move the puck.
We'll get into him being an assistant now today, 10 years later. But man, when he joined, you could just tell he joined the team that season. Okay, we got a guy here that we can go to no matter what.
Yeah, and he was, we always talk about like, okay, there's certain aspects of those championship Penguins teams that was the hardest to fill, but what's been the one thing that everyone's always been after since Nick Bonino left? The third line center. And that's what Nick Bonino was on that team. Like, he was the stabilizer, and he really understood his role on the ice as a shutdown centerman, a guy that was going to excel in the power play, win faceoffs. But off the ice, as you alluded to, was unbelievable in the locker room, became one of the fastest rising personalities in there, but also one of the greatest leaders that they could have behind closed doors in that room too. And I'm trying to remember, was it 16 or 17 where he broke his foot and he wasn't there at the end. One of the
Second
two.
year.
Was
I think
17?
it was the second year.
Yeah. And I remember that shift where he blocked the shot and broke his foot, and then he stayed out there until the end of the shift to just kind of gut it out. Not that everyone didn't respect the hell out of him already at that point, but that's another reason why, like, just an ultimate competitor, but really just understood his role. And I think that's an underrated quality in today's NHL. There's so many guys that as they rose through the ranks to get to the National Hockey League, they were the leading scorer or the time on ice leader or something like that. And it's hard for them to adapt to a situation where you're not the leading scorer and you're not the guy who's playing the most minutes, but you can find your niche and be the best at it and be a huge contributor still to a team once that light bulb goes off. And credit to Bonino, because it went off at a fairly opportune time for him coming to Pittsburgh, and he took full advantage.
He was 1/3 of the HBK line.
Oh, yeah.
And that line became famous here in Pittsburgh because of what they were able to do on the ice. And of course, Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, the wrestler. But it also reminded many Penguin fans of the old KLS line, Kovalev, Lang, and Straka from the early 2000s. They just seemed to be so productive in so many ways. But that line was instrumental in what the Penguins were able to do in the run for the Stanley Cup. I could talk about a lot of things that they were able to do, but I think the one thing that stood out the most was that goal in Game 6 against the Washington Capitals, the Bonino goal, because they had a 3-0 lead that the Capitals were able to quickly chip away at thanks to a couple of miscues by the Penguins, one of which came from Nick Bonino. I think it was a delay of game penalty that allowed the Capitals to score the game-tying goal.
I think there were multiple delay of game penalties in a row. It was like, it was unbelievable. It was like a comedy act in the worst possible way. We can laugh about it now because it worked out okay. But yeah, I mean, that line was awesome. They don't win the Stanley Cup without the HBK line that postseason. And it's funny because remember, that line got put together because Evgeni Malkin got hurt late in the regular season, and Nick Bonino jumped up to play with those guys. Another, nod to him and his versatility. And I think credit also to Mike Sullivan that he saw something was clicking there and he just let it go and figured out the rest of his line combinations aside from that. But man, they were awesome. They blended everything. You had like the good, creative centerman who could win faceoffs and understood, both sides of the puck. And Bonino, you had the speedy winger and Hagelin, and you had just a unique player on a lot of angles in Phil Kessel, who could score obviously, but also his playmaking was extremely underrated. And those three just really were awesome. And it's kind of crazy that as we sit here now and this January, they're going to honor the 2016 team. It's crazy that was 10 years ago. That's just really hard to believe. But that line is, as you said, you got KLS, you got the HBK, you got a bunch of lines that come to mind throughout the years. But for this generation of Penguins fans, that's their kind of cult line, just because of what it brought them and how good they were.
I got a little bit ahead of myself, so forgive me if I want to rewind just a little bit, but we talked about some of the qualities that Nick had away from the ice or in the room, but I think that's a big reason why he's back here as an assistant coach. And we've talked a little bit, I've had a chance to speak to him just a little bit during training camp about his new role, but you really don't need to talk to him about what he's going to do, whether it's working with the PK unit or some of the forwards, because we saw a lot of that connection with players, the way he talked to them as their teammates, because in a way he was almost like a player coach when he was here with some of the younger guys. And the way he walks that line, not only with some of his former teammates now as their coach, but with some of the younger players that he's trying to help. And I can't say enough about the way he approaches players with his playful personality. But, he can have fun, but there's a time where he needs to be serious. He can be serious with the player as well. And I think that's important in his new role as an assistant on the staff.
Yeah, I mean, I think based on everything we just said, his track record speaks for itself and should immediately get the attention of even veteran guys that are coming in here that don't really have a previous relationship with him, all the way down to the young guys. I mean, he offers, to me, in a way, he's got like a Matt Cullen type of element to him, where not as, right? Not like as wise beyond his years as Cullen is in the sense of, right. Yeah. He is a dad. I mean, he's not quite Matt Cullen dad status. I don't want to give him too much credit, but we love Bones. But he's a guy that I really think is going to settle into a coaching role really nicely. And what'll help with that is the fact that he's in a familiar situation, in the sense that he's in Pittsburgh. He knows, I always like to say one of the things that really resonated with me when talking to guys who have been recently traded or acquired or something is they know how to get to the rink without putting it in their GPS. Like, they know where the shower stalls are in the rink. Things are familiar. It's not like this foreign area you've never been in. And while you're trying to figure out how to coach, you're also trying to figure out the building and the surrounding area. It's not the case for Nick Bonino. He spent a few years here. He, as you mentioned, Danny, came back briefly a couple of years ago.
Welcome back to Unobstructed Views, talking a lot about this big three in Evgeni Malkin, Sidney Crosby, and Kris Letang tonight as the Penguins lead the St. Louis Blues 3-2 heading into the third period of play. And how about the captain, Sidney Crosby? He is now 1 point away from 1,700 career points after this assist right here, and one heck of a shot after a nice pass to Wotherspoon. Max.
What a pass, and that's what he's been doing for over 20 years, just putting on a plate, putting the puck on a plate but you got to finish, right? And that was an amazing shot. They were at 6-on-5 on that play for the third goal, and what a career he's had. He's 1 point away from 1,700 points. This is just amazing, 9th all time. And this is what's fun about Sidney Crosby, Malkin, Letang. They keep on reaching new milestones every game, and it's fun. It's part of celebration. If I can look and make like a bridge with like Ovechkin last year, right? Ovechkin was chasing a record, and I feel that is so good for a team. Everybody is behind it. There's excitement. There's pucks after the game that you give away to Sidney Crosby. If he reaches 1,700 points tonight, there's going to be a little celebration in the room. So this is all good energy for a team that's having a heck of a good start of the season.
He and Gino as well, 25 points through these first 9 games together. Oof. I told you that stat in the break, and your reaction was just, what? Like, they're so good, Max.
Yeah, the two-headed monsters, right? And they've been doing it for over 20 years together, and it is so fun to watch. And again, like game after game, if it's not one guy that's hot, it's the other one, and that is so cool. We talked about it during the first period, Malkin would have been the top player in any team, but he had a chance to have Sidney Crosby, and for them to rely on each other every game, and for them to become such good friends. It's not easy for a team to retain 3 players like that for 20 years, and I think that's because they're comfortable in Pittsburgh. They've had a bunch of great years together, and this is just a privilege for fans to be able to watch them every night.
And we are privileged to watch them here on Unobstructed Views as well, and bring you an alternate view of watching the big 3. We've had an ISO cam on them tonight as well. Shout out to all of the amazing people behind the scenes making that possible. Look at Gino with that. Intensity in his eyes. How do you not want to play with a guy like that?
He was doing the butterfly there, which is he is stretching his groins to be ready for the third period. And to me, again, we talked about it in the first period, but the way that Gino is playing, he comes back from the summer, and when he's like that, he's focused like that, he is a menace. He is so important to this team. And look at a pass from Sidney Crosby on the back end. Hall Gill mentioned it during the second period. He's as good with his forehand as he is as his backhand, and this is a good start of the third period. You have to, you let St. Louis come back in the first. Oh, what a shot.
Beautiful.
Another pass. That's 1,700 points for Sidney Crosby. But what a shot pass from Erik Karlsson there. That was a planned play. He was definitely looking for that blade. And Sidney Crosby, someone please pick up the puck for him. Here we go, Sidney. I love you, bud. It's so well deserved.
What an amazing thing to be a part of, to have had Max Talbot, Stanley Cup champion, former teammate, sitting here talking about the big 3, a guy like Sidney Crosby, and to watch him get his 1700 on a pass like that, as you're talking about, you've been talking about it all night, the passes he's able to make, what he's able to do, and now the 9th player in NHL history with 1,700 points. Congratulations, Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, we're witnessing history right there. And who went and picked up the puck first? Hallander, the young rookie that's on his line tonight. So what a privilege for him to be able to witness this firsthand. And who else would he be assisted by? Sidney Crosby assisted on. It's Brian Rust is one of the guy that he's been on the line for so long. And he's getting hot, right? It's second one of the game. He started the game with the first goal, and that was just a beauty of a goal for Sidney Crosby's 1,700 assists.
I think it's so cool too, Max, that we talked about in the beginning of the show. You talked to Hallander this morning. He was nervous to play with a guy like Sid. Imagine the nerves too, maybe him knowing Sid's close to 1,700. Now he can solidify himself as one of the guys who was on the ice when history happened.
Yeah, well, that's funny because I wonder, that would be like a good question to ask if he knew about that, because sometimes when you're young, you look at the stats sheet before the game, you go and you look at stats, but you don't really realize sometimes, and you don't think about that too much when you play. Even Sid, I'm sure Sid knew, but Hallander, I don't know if he knew, but I think he knew because he picked up the puck, so good for him to do this for Sidney Crosby, and that's a pretty special moment here we're witnessing. Last season we had a chance to see Fleury's last game in Pittsburgh when he was playing with the Wild, and it was an amazing game. And tonight, 1,700 points for Sidney Crosby.
And we can hear that place is roaring. They're announcing it again right now inside of PPG Paints Arena. A standing ovation while they're just having normal play on the ice. You just know how much a guy like Sidney Crosby has meant to this city, and you can see why that he continues to do this. And Max, it's interesting. We've talked so much about the big 3 tonight and what they've been able to do on the ice, but something that's so common in sports is that it's evolving all of the time, right? And these guys have evolved along with it as Sidney Crosby's family looks on with the standing ovation to honor this moment.
Troy is present in the building, and did he know it was going to happen tonight? I don't think so, but he was there to witness this, and this is very, very special. He's got a smile on his face, Sidney Crosby, because he realized that it's pretty special, and he's surpassing Mario Lemieux too for the most multi-point game tonight. So it's 2 record in 1, and that's very special. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6th player to have the most multi-point game in his career. So congrats, Sidney. We're very proud of you. And all I think about when I see Troy in the stands, right, Anna, is Troy was there, and I remember Sidney Crosby is 18 years old, and Troy was always there for him. He's been very present in Pittsburgh, and even sometimes after lost or tougher game from Sid, I can remember Sidney Crosby on his shitty Palm Pilot phone back in the days. It was a different phone, but he would talk to Troy, and Troy would give him advice on his game, his thoughts on his game. So he's been very present in Sid's career, Sid's development, Sid's life. Both his parents were always around, and he became the player and the person he is now, which is an amazing one.
And it really doesn't matter how many milestones you achieve or how old you get in this day and age, and you're a dad, you know this. You have the Meta sunglasses, so you're always ready to click for a moment, but they're always going to want to film that moment and have it and capture it and be there.
Yeah, well,
it doesn't matter if you're Sidney Crosby and point 1,700. It still is big to mom and dad.
Adam, my son is 11 years old, and I watch his game. I had a chance to coach him, and it's that, the young guys are there, but you need a support group to raise an athlete, to raise a kid. You need, like they say, you need a village to raise a kid, but Sid was always super well, surrounded, and even like Mario Lemieux, I'm sure he's watching a game somewhere, and he's watching this, and he has a lot of part into Sidney Crosby's development, Sidney Crosby's well-being in Pittsburgh, the way that he showed him how to become, a very classy person and a very classy representation of the team. I think that Mario Lemieux taught Sidney Crosby a lot during his career.
There's something about a moment in time, and I feel like if we could just bottle that one right here on Unobstructed Views, we're going to set it right there on the shelf of moments that we've been able to see. It was really special just to watch the fans on their feet again for that. Give him his flowers. I mean, Sidney Crosby, leave it to him, did not accomplish just one moment in history, but two at the same time. We talked about Tanger went over, said something in his ear that made him laugh. I'm dying to know what that interaction was. We're focusing so much on the big three, and they've all had a big night, Max. But what do you think it is about those three?
Oh, come on. Good shot by Joseph here. 2-on-1. We talked about it in the first period. Sorry, I'm going to come back to your answer, but I want to comment on this goal. Another 2-on-1. Odd number rush. It was a good shot. Jarry was playing the pass on that, I think, but unfortunate turnover. The defenseman was trying to bring some offense.
Again, the turnovers, though. We talked about that.
Dumba's playing it well, though. We talked about Letang in the first period when he took away the pass, the shot instead of the pass. There, I think Dumba plays the right play, and Jarry needs to know that. He needs to know that the pass back door is not there, and I feel that he's very deep in his net, but he got scored both first goal of the game. He got scored on the weak side, on the back door. So I feel like on that goal, Jarry is cheating a little bit for that pass, and he's not big in his net on the shot. But that was a good shot. And odd men rush are always very dangerous. Starts with a turnover in the defensive zone. You think you have control of the puck, and you're very confident. But one mistake happens pretty quickly. And while we see Evgeni Malkin again with emotion tonight, I think it's a 4-on-4 at least. I thought it was a PK. We're not sure yet. I'm not sure of the call if they're going to go 4-on-4 or.
Looks like they're going to go 4-on-4. We'll have replays here in a minute, but it is important to note, even if this was a PK, the Penguins have now killed 8 straight at home, which has been a highlight tonight as well.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a 4-on-4. But,
Again.
Yeah, Gino's involved in the game, That's what I like to see when, look at him. I love it. Oh, yes. Gino, let's go. To me, that's when he plays his best. You need to be involved in games. You need to bring emotion, and it's good for him. And it's a 4-on-4, so it's not just taking a bad penalty because the St. Louis players kind of retaliate also. But when you have the lead in the game, for people at home, you always want to play 5-on-5. It's if I were the St. Louis Blues, I would try to, get the Penguins player undisciplined. Obviously, you want a power play, but even 4-on-4, it's more dangerous for the team that's leading, right? Because there's more room on the ice, and so advantage St. Louis there.
What did you feel? I know you were talking earlier about being crowded a little bit at times on the ice. How did you feel when there was a bit more space?
I was not on the ice, so I didn't feel anything. Yeah, no, I rarely played 4-on-4. even 3-on-3. I remember a couple years I was good enough to have a couple shift in the overtime, and they'd use me, but it's usually you want your best player and your fastest player on the ice.
We see Sidney Crosby on the ice, in the ISO right now. When you're in a 4-on-4 situation, you have a guy like that on the ice. So what's sort of his strategy? Where does he want to be on the ice? Where does he want to put himself in good position? It's
puck protection. So just like overtime, you need to have control of the puck. So face-off become very, very important. You need to have puck possession, and you'll see guys controlling the puck a little bit, even being more patient and turning back into the neutral zone when you can't get zone entry. There's more room on the ice, so you have to be patient, and I was certainly not a patient player.
Well, have some patience. We'll have more Penguins hockey here on Unobstructed Views coming up next.
Inside Penguins Hockey is back.
Let's go eat sushi.
For an all-new season.
And now he's your best friend.
Yeah. Getting a line in the water is always a joy for me.
Inside Penguins Hockey. New episodes every month on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by UPMC Health Plan. The road to puck drop begins on Penguins Tonight. A first look at the latest game news, stories from around the league, and so much more. Penguins Tonight, 1 hour before every game on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by Morgan & Morgan.
Welcome back to Unobstructed Views. Leave it to Sidney Crosby to continue to reach milestones every season that we watch him, but especially here tonight, Max. 1,700 career points, but 1,901 regular and postseason, the most in Penguins history. He is certainly fabulous to watch. He started as Sid the Kid, right? And now he's certainly in a league of his own, if you will, with the greatest of all time. But when we talk about the big three and the way that they play this game, the game is changing. It's forcing you to play a different way and faster. Why have those three, though, been able to stay true to themselves and be so good for so long?
Yeah, that's an amazing question, Anna, because we always talk about that, right? You see guys like Lehnuts and Demidov like showing up in the league, whether it's Connor Bedard, all these young guys that have so much skills, right? And we feel like the game is getting faster and faster and faster. But what I bring back to this is always like, yes, it's getting faster while the crowd is going nuts with Malkin, like bringing the puck up. But while the game is getting faster, it's like these guys haven't slowed down a bit. And you were talking about the stats off the air about Evgeni Malkin, right? That is the fastest player for 13 assists.
13 assists, yes.
And the last one he did.
In 10-game span since 2018-19, when he himself did it.
Yeah, and that's crazy because 6 years later, he's still doing it, right? So for me, it's like, yes, the game is getting faster, but these guys have had the smarts and the intelligence to be able to adapt and still dominate in a game that's getting faster. So Sidney Crosby, Malkin, Letang are not getting slower, right? They adapted, they're getting more intelligent, they have experience, and that comes into play. You can get the fastest player in the world coming at you, well, you're still gonna be able to stop him because they use their brains.
Always thinking like chess,
yes.
one play ahead, and you can see a lot of the times too with these guys and how good they are, but specifically a lot of the plays we watch Crosby and a lot of people that end up watching hockey sitting there watching him thinking, how does he even know that guy's there? How does he even know that was going to happen? And it's just it's that experience on the ice you really can't beat.
Yeah, experience in hockey IQ. You know, even if you get older, you even have more weapons in your bag because you've done it before. And I mean, that was always Sidney Crosby's strongest suit, right? To be able to anticipate where the puck's going to go, anticipate where his teammates are going to be. So he definitely, you don't lose that with age, right? You might lose a little bit of speed, a little bit of strength, a little bit of stamina, but you don't lose your hockey reflex, your hockey smarts, your experience during a game, right? Well, you know, the score and everything, that all just get better like wine, you know.
Fine wine. Aging like fine wine is what we call that, Max.
Yep, thank you, Anna. You're always there for me.
Always there for you. Hey, you had mentioned just briefly, and I want to talk about this because if you're just tuning in with us, Evgeni Malkin has brought an edge to this game tonight, and that's been evident. The intensity he's brought, the little things we're seeing on this ISO camera that we have for you guys on just exclusively on our broadcast. What is it, Max, about that? I mean, the fans clearly feel it.
Yep.
You know, what is that he's bringing tonight? And have you seen him traditionally be that guy, or have you fed off of it personally?
Well, to me, and I touched that a little bit in the second period, it's when a leader like that just shows up and does things that he normally doesn't do, and he does it with intensity. When you see him on a face-off reacting with emotions, to me that means that Evgeni Malkin is on his game, you know. And you see sometimes Malkin, he could have felt disinterested at times in his career. You know, he still have the skill and everything, but he's still dominating when he's like that. But right now, I feel you get the best of him, you know. And I say it often for Evgeni Malkin while the players are going at it. Evgeni Malkin, to me, the player I saw in 2009 during the Eastern Conference Final and during the playoff where he won the Conn Smythe, which is, you know, given to the best player of the playoff. To me, Evgeni Malkin at that moment in time, frozen in time, is the most dominating player I ever played with. You know, he was man versus child. So when you bring a skilled, big body like Evgeni Malkin, talented guy, and he plays with emotion, you couldn't do anything against him. And that's a little bit the start of this season this year, you know, and he's playing very inspirational hockey.
It needs to be sustained too, right? Because obviously when you're seeing a guy like Gino, 13 assists leading the NHL, the 7-game point streak, you're seeing this team and how successful they can be when he's at his best as well. So hopefully he can sustain that. I mean, what is key to that, though? We've seen Gino have hot starts before. We've seen him have these pockets of success and then some lulls in the season, and it's going to happen. But what would you say in terms of this year, and maybe there's an extra edge with the big three and knowing what it could mean? Do you think he feels that?
Oh, for sure. And I look at him on the ISO there, you know. ISOCam?
ISOCam, yep.
ISOCam, sorry, I said ISO. ISOCam, I see him there, and I see him moving his feet. And, you know, when the puck's turning over, he comes back and he's ready, his knees are bent. And to me, as an ex-coach for a year, it's like, you know this player's on his game, and you just want to put him back on the ice, right? You want to give him ice time. And even Carlson, yes, he did a turnover in the first period for one of the goal, but what he just did on Rust's second goal, the fourth goal of the Penguins, that's a Carlson that's engaged too. And when you're skilled guy and you guys that are on the ice, leading by example and having the most ice time, when you see them playing that way, I'm sure Dan Mears is having a blast behind the bench. And this morning, actually, he told us a goal that happened during their West Coast trip. And it was a goal that happened. It was such a skilled play on one of the power play, and it was a goal by Malkin. And he told me he was behind the bench, and he had to put his lineup sheet in front of his face because he was laughing. He kind of laughing in his disbelief that, wow, that was amazing. So it's a head coach of a team that's just looking and putting like skilled player on the ice, and he's having fun doing it.
It's showing too. It definitely resonates with everybody. More fun with this Penguins team when we come back.
No one gets you ready for puck drop like Penguins Face Off Live. Pre-game insights, analysis, and a word straight from the coach. Penguins Face Off Live before every game on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Here, we don't just watch the Penguins. We live every tipped puck.
Unbelievable.
Every battle.
You need more of this.
every new prospect.
This is a glimpse of the future.
Everything you love about the Pens, we do too.
I'm down here between the benches.
You know what that means, Pens fans?
Cheers for that.
We manifested it.
Stream the Penguins all season long on SNP 360.
Sidney Crosby making history here tonight with his 1,700th point. But Max, this was him early in his career. Rookie year. Welcome to the NHL, Sidney Crosby, and welcome to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, welcome to Pittsburgh against a team that his father was drafted for, the Montreal Canadiens. That was in a shootout. And what I can say when I look at this goal, first of all, the Zamboni driver was drunk because the ice was not resurfaced the proper way. But secondly, it's just right before he went to the shootout. Who was taking a shootout was Mario Lemieux, and he missed. So it was all on Sidney Crosby's stick. And I can remember being lined up in that game and just being like, wow, he's going to have a special career, right? Making this on this stage against, the team that he was rooting for growing up, and against José Theodore, that was a very good goalie at the time, and he just put it shelved. The water bottle came flying, and it was, like you said, like, welcome to the NHL, Sidney Crosby.
And it's sort of just chilling to hear you say that Mario went first, he misses, and it's sort of like a passing of the torch then for Crosby to sort of pick him up in that moment, and that's how it's been here. He's followed in his footsteps, and he's done it in his own way with his own identity, but certainly on that Mount Rushmore now.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was just a question of time, but again, it started from that. I mean, we could show a video of his first NHL goal, but he's been doing highlight reels for 20 years now, and just had a chance to playing with him for six seasons. And you talked to Hall Gill during the second period. It's the same thing. Every player that had a chance. I was talking to Derek Brassard that just came here for a little bit, or Maxime Lapierre that played for the the Penguins for a season or so. Just having a chance to play in the same team as Sidney Crosby is special for any Penguins player that Sidney Crosby touched. A little bit like Mario, for me, of course, when I look back at my career, I talk about my moments in Pittsburgh with Sidney and Gino and Letang, but one of the first things I always say is I played with Mario Lemieux, so for these players, Sidney Crosby is the Mario Lemieux, right? For the young guys, and I know Mario Lemieux was at the game about 2 weeks ago also in his box, and Evgeni Malkin kid comes and take a picture with him, and all the young guys from the team are waiting for Mario to be able to ask if they can take a picture with him. So think about the Penguins organization and history. It's like they've been so lucky and blessed to have had a chance to have like monuments like Lemieux and oh my God, that would have been a highlight reel goal. Gino is feeling it. Oh, wow.
Max, I feel like we've had a lot of Unobstructed Views shows where Gino's feeling it when you're on. I think there is a theme here. I think Gino senses something from you when you're on.
He knows I'm watching, and he wants to make me proud. But this is like, for me to watch him play at that level at his age is pretty. Yes, we've talked a lot about Sidney Crosby tonight, but it's pretty special. Again, I love watching him play like that. It's cool, and who knows what's going to happen with Gino. He mentioned it might be his last season. we'll see. Like Kyle Dubas got a lot of decisions to take, like this season, right?
And it's hard when you look at it too and see how well they're playing, and then you're thinking again, because everyone thinks every year, well, the big three. Well, when is it going to be enough?
Yeah.
When do you get better guys? How do you get a better guy than a guy that's leading the NHL in 13 assists right now to start the season?
It's a good question, but I think Kyle Dubas has a plan written down, you know, and that's his job. He's thinking, yes, about this year, about the development of every player, because when you win, I think it makes you a better organization, better culture, better team. Guys are growing faster. Having a chance to make the playoff for a young team is always big, you know. If they keep like Kendall and Brunik, like it's better development for them to be able to win some games. But saying all this, Kyle Dubas has a plan, and you know, obviously it's good for him if he's thinking about doing some moves. Well, you have extra value if these guys are playing good. You know, I'm not saying anything. I don't know what his plan is. I don't know what he's going to do with it, but it's always easier and better to do it when the team's winning.
Yeah, and the Penguins have certainly looked like they found something. I know a close game here, giving up some goals, but I remember a couple of games ago, and after they beat the Florida Panthers, and the Panthers, a great team, obviously, the success that they've had the past few seasons, and the comments guys were making were, you know, we felt like we just couldn't get them. We felt like we'd get them, we'd get a goal, and then all of a sudden they'd have the momentum, and I feel it's a similar feel here tonight. They just keep taking the momentum back.
Yeah, well, it was so good what I was going to say, but we have to go to a break, so come back real quick to Unobstructed Views. We'll be right back for an amazing end of the game. Stay with us.
Inside Penguins Hockey is back.
Let's go eat sushi.
For an all-new season.
And now he's your best friend.
Yeah. Hitting a line in the water is always a joy for me.
Inside Penguins Hockey. New episodes every month on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by UPMC Health Plan. The road to puck drop begins on Penguins Tonight. A first look at the latest game news, stories from around the league, and so much more. Penguins Tonight, 1 hour before every game on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by Morgan & Morgan.
Welcome back.
Being on the ice with him and having a chance to see him dominate the way that he was. I mentioned it a little bit ago. To me, that was the best performance I've seen a player in my whole career have. You know, like he was such a force on the ice, and that goal was just like, wow, man versus child, right? And to be able to play with him and Fedotenko on the same line, it was funny. We talk about that. Adjusting, you know, for the young player that plays with Sidney Crosby tonight, it's like, don't change who you are. But for me and Gino playing on the same line, it was funny because I was a center earlier in my career, but then you don't want to take Gino's place. So what we did when we played on the same line is that every time the puck would go in D zone, even though if I was a winger taking, like Gino was taking a face-off, in D zone I would play the roles of centerman, and as soon as we'd get to neutral zone, he would move back to center because we wanted him to carry the puck. He was obviously a little better than me, and for me, I was more the energy guy, so I could spend energy in my own zone, give the puck to Gino, and then Gino would do the plays in neutral. neutral zone and the offensive zone. So it was funny things to go about it, but it certainly worked for these playoffs.
But it's interesting because it's adapting to your superstars, right? And adapting to what they do. That's when you do have a foundation you build around it. And a young player like Ben Kindle, for example, can be that guy. He can move around. He can be versatile. He's been a center, though, on this third line, but he can move around as well, Max.
Look at his goal. That's against Edmonton there. Uses his size, his skill. It's the same back end as he did against Carolina, right? So that's what I mean. That's Evgeni Malkin to me. And we're gonna miss that so much. If it's true that it's his last season, I'm not sure, but we're gonna miss those highlight reel goals and the fun that he brings to the rink and his big smile. And you talked about how he is off the ice, and I said he's a big clown. Obviously, it's with all the respect that I owe him. He's just a guy that likes to have fun and laughs about things, doesn't take things too seriously. And I think that was one of his strong suit. Take life one day at a time and know you're fortunate to play in the NHL. And he was definitely a great, became a great guy with a great friend of Sidney Crosby.
Well, it's great to see, though, and see those moments at the spinorama goal and all these things that you just have this it factor as a player, and hopefully those young players get to see that and think, I want to be that. I want to make those
Crosby
plays.
To breakaway. Come on, back it. Hey! 17:01. Here he is. Wow. And okay, the ISO cam there. I was watching him in the D zone. And when I say he's the best grinder in the league in some way, that's obviously with all the positive that comes with it. He was trying to block that shot. Look at him. He's making himself big, but he knows that the pass is coming after that. So that is such a skill. Not a lot of superstar would have went and go like him. He wants it. He wants the puck. He wants to block that shot. And that's a team, that's a captain that's committed to win. And I don't think he wanted to pass the pass off the pads.
And follows up his own shot.
Yes, and that was great. He missed the first shot a little bit. He hit the logo, but being Sidney Crosby, he might have been planned. I don't know. Maybe he was trying to get his own rebound, but I doubt it. I just think he missed his first shot.
Yeah.
But what a goal that is.
Young players too. Follow your shot.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, for sure. You gotta go to the rebound, and again Gino! Wow, the two-headed monsters. I love it. I love to see this. This is Unobstructed Views. They're doing it for us. It's an exciting game. What a game these two guys had. We wanted to talk about the big three. We talked a little bit about Kris Letang, but we couldn't stop talking about Evgeni Malkin. That's, he deserved that goal for sure, the way he played tonight. And
the fans were rooting for that, right? You could hear them every time he had the puck. They were on their feet. They're screaming because they felt that all night, and they wanted that for him.
I felt it, and look at these two guys just having so much fun. Gino with the smile. And you know what? Tristan Jarry had a great game too. He had,
Sometimes it's the things you don't talk about. It's better to maybe go unheard, right?
Yeah.
That means things are going well when you're not always highlighting
it. 45 seconds ago, I was going to say how Tristan Jarry has got the pressure on him right now, but he's keeping the team in positive point. I don't know if I can say that, but he's really keeping the team in the game right now. So you gotta give props to Jarry tonight. You gotta give props to Dan Mears tonight, because there's no secret to it. These guys are feeling it right now, and there's a reason for that. We mentioned it a little bit when we started the show. For those who were not with us, Dan Mears, you feel like there's a lot of air to breathe for these guys right now. They are happy playing. They're having fun at the start of the season, and that comes with a culture. That comes with a message of the coach, with bringing different things on the table. The power play. Did we have a power play tonight?
No, we had that 4-on-4. We had penalty kill.
I would have liked to see
power
that.
Play.
They scored 6 goals tonight without a power play goal, so this is good because they're the best power play in the league. I would have liked to see Kindle in the first unit tonight and see how he
see the young guy a little bit. See him up there.
Exactly, but they didn't need it tonight. So huge game by Russ, 2 goals. Sid scored a huge go-ahead goal with the 5th goal. It's and Gino closed the game like that with the 6th goal of the game. So very, very good performance for the Penguins tonight.
What a cherry on top, right?
Yep.
You love to see that, but also, Max, they never let off the gas. And I think that's something I've seen. When this team is winning, they are full go the whole time. And sometimes last year, and I don't mean to point this out, but we wanted that from this team. You wanted to see that team with that intensity and that pace of play and setting the tone from start to finish.
For those who just didn't see that play right there in neutral zone, Manta was such a good acquisition, and Brazo too, like that big line we talk about. Well, they just did a little play in neutral zone between Malkin and Manta, and you can feel, and we touched it a little bit in the first, you could feel that chemistry, and it's undeniable that these guys are happy to play together, and they just do like non-look pass, and they know where they're on the ice. And for a team right now, it's such they're having a blast playing. You know, and you can feel it. They're going on a 4-game road trip, so but they've been a very good team on the road. I think they're 4-1 on the road too, so that's positive. But it's going to be a tough. They're playing tomorrow night in Philly, I think. And as we see Rust and Sid, you know, celebrating as a 3-point game for Sidney Crosby tonight. That's pretty special. He's not far from Mario Lemieux too. I think he's going to reach that in about 5 games at this rate, you know?
I mean, and the best way to cap off 1,700 is getting that extra 1 point there too. Right now you don't have to worry about it. It's in the past. Hopefully, though, we get to hear from Sidney Crosby as well post-game with Haley Hunter as the Penguins defeat the St. Louis Blues by a final score of 6-3. It was an exciting game. We talked about the big three so much. 20 years of watching that excellence on the ice, but hopefully more to come this season as Sidney Crosby and Evgeni Malkin, obviously a huge highlight here this evening. PPG Paints was rocking. They're on the feet. They were on their feet. Standing ovation, well deserved. A ton of fun had here tonight, Max.
Oh, while you see Iceberg running around with the flag on the ice, I love it. And I think Sidney Crosby is going to have a lot of love in the dressing room as he's the last one to leave the ice. And congrats, Sidney Crosby.
There is nothing like getting to witness history, and what a privilege it is with this team, Max, that I feel like we get to see it every single night. And it's because you have players like Sidney Crosby, like Evgeni Malkin, like Kris Letang, who have those milestones to hit, but are still playing the game at such a high level. And I mean, you can't deny the things that Sidney Crosby does on the ice is just things that we may never see again. They are once in a generation, possibly once in a lifetime, and we've been privileged to watch it. His entire career, mind you, it's hard to do with one team, and he's done it.
He's done it, and he's done it with class. He's done it with humility. And to me, that is what Sidney Crosby is all about. We had so many stories about Sidney Crosby just giving back to the community, just being such a good leader for the city of Pittsburgh. And I'm sad that we had the chance to talk about that, right? How great of a human being he is. So Erik Karlsson is playing some big hockey too. I think that's the best hockey that he's played since he's in Pittsburgh, right? So.
And high expectations for him coming in last year. So nice to see him rising up early on in the season. Like we said, there's times tonight that we didn't talk a ton about the defensive play, but maybe it was better that we didn't, because that means it was probably good. And of course, Sidney Crosby, one of these 3 stars as well, the guy standing by for an interview with our very own Haley Hunter as well. And of course, his line mate, Brian Rust, a highlight tonight for him, perhaps maybe a breakout game that he needed to, Max.
Yeah, well, Saturday we talked about his first goal of the season, get his monkey off his back. I think that's what he needed. You know, we all know he's a skilled player. He's very good. He's got chemistry with Sid. But tonight was exactly what he brought. He brought great chemistry, and they made the magic happen.
And we're now going to get to hear from the captain himself, who made a ton of magic on the ice, and a lot of those fans in the stands smiling. Very, very happy.
1,500 career points, just the 9th player in NHL history to do that. One of 4 players with one team right here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Sid, when you take a look at that list, some of the names that you're next to for a milestone like this, how special is it to be in such elite company?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun. Obviously, you grow up. Some of those players in that list are guys that I idolize, so it's cool to join that list. And you know, great game tonight. Obviously, it's nice when you get a win to top it all off. So that was special.
Well, Sid, this is the best start to the season for you guys since 2016. When you take a look at all the new faces on this roster, just what's been the key to being able to get 2 points night in and night out and be so consistent? Such an elite start.
Yeah, I think it's been different ways. You know, special teams, some nights our goalies have been really good. They bail us out a bit. Different guys are contributing. So I think, you know, that's the big thing is just everyone's finding ways to contribute, whether it's on the score sheet or not. And we've found different ways here early. So it's a good sign. We want to keep it going here on the road trip.
Really great start to the season, and no official power plays for you guys tonight, but 3 for 3 on the PK against a team that had power play goals in 3 consecutive games. What can you say about the workload they had tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. It's a good power play on their side. So we made some big kills when we needed to, got some big saves from Jars when we needed them. So to have success, you need that, and I thought we did a great job of weathering the storm.
Sid, I have a feeling this won't be the last milestone interview we do with you, but just know that we're really enjoying keeping up with all these milestones. Thanks so much for the time. Good luck on the road trip.
All right, thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Back to you guys.
We're enjoying all of those milestones too, Sid. Keep them coming. Unobstructed Views will be back to wrap up the game and the Penguins win and highlight the captain. Stay tuned.
Inside Penguins Hockey is back.
Let's go eat sushi.
For an all-new season.
And now he's your best friend.
Yeah. Hitting a line in the water is always a joy for me.
Inside Penguins Hockey. New episodes every month on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by UPMC Health Plan. The road to puck drop begins on Penguins Tonight. A first look at the latest game news, stories from around the league, and so much more. Penguins Tonight, 1 hour before every game on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Presented by Morgan & Morgan.
Well, Sidney Crosby had himself a night, and imagine being a young fan in the stands, and after a milestone, you get Sidney Crosby's stick. Look at the enjoyment on his face. I mean, bottle that one up and put it in our Unobstructed Views joy wall as well with the things that we've watched from this Penguins team, and specifically a guy like Sidney Crosby, who 1,700 career points accomplished here tonight, as he just spoke with our very own Haley Hunter. And I mean, the milestone kid is maybe an understatement. The amount of things that he's contributed to this team, and specifically here in the win tonight, Max, it is something to see.
Oh, memory for a lifetime for this kid, right? You have a Sidney Crosby stick right after the game, and you can see the emotion in the kid's face. So congrats, Sid, really from the bottom of our heart. It's been amazing what you've been doing game in, game night, game out, and it was a special game. You could feel the energy in the air since the puck dropped. You know, the guys came out to play, right, and they were ready. You can feel they're having fun, the energy in the building. Amazing night from Gino, from Sid, from Russ, Carlson. So I think this Penguins team is for real right now. You know, game in, game out, they're amazing.
They're amazing, and it was amazing having you back, Max Talbot, for Season 2 of Unobstructed Views. We've got more excellence on the ice coming your way November 22nd. We hope you'll tune in for us. Seems like we bring the Penguins some luck.